Whoops. Oh, fuck. Jesus. All right. What up? What's up? What's up? There we go. All right. Slow weekend for the law news. Yeah, maybe for you. Got some updates in news about like the fucking Natty Ice guard and shit. So there are things going on. And I mean, scheming. They always are. You don't need a slow news day for that to be the case. But at least like for the National Guard being in Portland, that has been delayed again. So now the official decision isn't going to be made until the 17th. So now we don't get to know if Natty Ice are going to be here or not up until that point. And considering the decision, so far it likely is, going to go in favor of like Trump's administration on that one, especially considering it's a Trump appointee. Last judge who would have probably been able to like have some balls and like make the decision to like go against it, recused himself. So now we have this, Trump appointed judge who's looking over it, and you can only imagine where that decision is going to go. As it stands right now, it seems like like it's they at least so far have extended the deadline to pretty much the last day that they can hold it off until the decision is officially made. So the Trump judge rules against it for now, but it's again, it's kind of a matter of time. I'm still pretty convinced they're going to be coming down. And it's already been getting fucking ridiculous because of the ICE as it is. Like, they've just been utterly terrorizing protesters and shit, every time, they show up. Today was a really big day for it. If I wasn't busy doing other shit, I would have tagged along to it. Good little noises. This is all to provoke civil unrest to give Trump official leaders into absolute power Palpatine style. I mean, I'm aware what, like, the whole idea about it is. I mean, Chicago's, like, you know, getting terrorized by ICE right now, too. In fact, a lot of the fucking videos, especially on, like, Public Freakout I've been seeing, have been predominantly coming from Chicago. So, they've definitely been raising hell, you know, since we left that city. Which, arguably, at least for me, prefer that, because I'd rather not had my little vacation fucked with by them, because I would have been fucked. But yeah, and it's also like another fucking city now. I think he's you know thinking about putting National Guard troops into, because you know Portland's taking too long to shove a bunch of Natty Ice in. So now he's finding another city. I know Memphis has already been kind of on a little bit on, you know, like one of the cities to be deployed at potentially. And then there's like another one that just recently was kind of making the name, and like a little bit, at least little name waves. I heard Ice Agent got pew pew trying to pick up someone near the border here in New Mexico. I mean, considering how a lot of people are like mentioning about like how a lot of them are unidentifiable, masked up, and fucking, you know, are like violently and militarily aggressive, I'm not really too shocked by that, because there are definitely going to be people that, you know, are going to act accordingly when you got some masked individual charging you with a gun. But dude got away from what I've heard. Well, obviously it didn't make, you know, enough headlines, you know, for it to be, you know, absolutely like huge, at least for now. I know there's like one in Chicago where someone got shot, you know, because of a bunch of ICE agents, and all the videos, you know, that came from it show obviously ICE being the main provocateurs and the aggressors in the situation, and utterly lied about, you know, being surrounded, like 10 cars surrounding their, you know, agent's vehicle and all this other shit, when there wasn't, and they were just like fucking being the utter instigator and hostile force against people that are just, for all intents and purposes, just trying to go about their day-to-day fucking life. You know, knock things over your table. And for, you know, like, you know, right-wing MAGA type, you know, thinks about, at least with Portland, being like, well, with all the violence going on there, if, you know, the protesters wouldn't just react to it so hard, then they wouldn't be so violent. And it's like, bitch, ICE is literally the main reason why there are protests here. Like, honestly, the protests wouldn't, you know, be so intense here against ICE if ICE just fucked off and didn't do anything. In fact, honestly, for a while, that was kind of how it was. Like, every now and then, if it got big enough, ICE would come out and, you know, rough some people up and shit. You know, arrest a few people here and there. But if there's, like, maybe at most, like, 20 people just mulling around outside, they usually aren't doing shit. Outside of maybe, like, chasing you away from the, you know, gate if you happen to get too close. So, it's like, I mean, if they were smart, which they're ICE, obviously they're not, they literally have a brain filled with ice cubes, just slowly melting away into like a weird gelatinous soup that should be a brain. It's like, you know, they would just not do any action against them. They'll just let them be out there protesting and do their stupid shit, you know, whatever it is, like, you know, hanging fucking donuts on fishing lines, you know, going ice fishing, stuff like that. You know, because at that point, it would just look like some silly shit. Instead of, like, you know, now they're being heavily offended over, well, silly shit. Like, honestly, unironically, the worst thing I think I've heard the protesters doing, at least, especially as far as I'm aware, is, like, basically getting somewhat defensive in an aggressive way towards like MAGA chud types, being like, "Yo, fuck off, we don't want you here, and you're a problem," and like, and they're not aggressive in a sense of like throwing punches and shit. They're like, kind of like, "Oh, get out of here, leave," like kind of gently shoving you out. Unless you want to cause a real serious issue, then they'll just fucking shove you and be like, "Get the fuck out." I've seen that shit happen too. Not these protests, but that's usually the most like common main tactic when it comes to dealing with like problematic things at protests and shit. It's usually that, and that's literally the worst I've ever have heard from any of these protesters where they're quote in the wrong, and even then they're not. And like I said, the main reason why they're there is because ICE is just a very fascistic, aggressive bunch of bastards. Like, I mean, shocker. And they aren't acting any different over here. But they have a less of a reason to be here because the ICE facility isn't even a detention center either. So it's just here. It's just there to be there, basically. Ooh, that was really earthy. Super earthy. Oh. Not sure how I felt about having such an earthy taste after eating some sushi and a little bit of burr. Sometimes an earthy taste is good, but right now it's just kind of like, don't know how I feel about that. Tired of saucy bullshit. I'm tired of doing that. Democrats can't even hold blame. I guess fascists level and pushing back. I mean, I feel with that. That's why, honestly, I have been kind of had this accelerationist position for a while. Because at least it's starting to wake people up and it's starting like to get pushed back. But it's not because of the Democratic Party or like any like influence when it comes to like politicians or anything. It's for people. Like, and so I mean, if that's what it has to take, to fuck it. Honestly, like, I mean, if the pushback we're getting is for like the general populace of the people, as it stands right now, then that's what needs to happen. In fact, honestly, that needs to be the first foundation for anything. When it comes to trying to push back, especially towards something like fascism, and it being a major problem right now, and it needs to be a big priority. And also, it's a very easy sell to have people be critical of, especially considering how it's operating under this current administration. I mean, I'm not like I'm not really like too fucking like too wound up from it, if that makes sense. I'm just sick of like the fact that the broader establishment isn't at least playing at least softball with it. You would think that would at least be supportive to some element to the establishment, to show at least that like we're not like completely in favor of all this crazy fascist shit though. We like things to at least be somewhat liberal here. But we don't even get that. So at that point, you just like I think there just needs to be a very critical like kind of accelerationistic kind of position, at least for now, to get kind of people to waking the fuck up, and also at least get people who are passionate enough to kind of get out on the limelight a little more. And there are, it's a little bit by bit, and I don't really expect there to be a lot of like major pushing right now, just because we're still in the early midterms too. And like some of these other politicians that are kind of up and coming, and some of these people that are up and coming, don't really have any power yet. So that's another thing that I especially tend to get sick of is slow burns. Like when there is something that's kind of rolling, but it is just taking fucking forever. That's especially how I feel about it. But then again, no one said that collapse was going to be fucking rapid fire within a day. I mean, you know what they say. Rome didn't collapse within a day. Given the finger opening right now, or at the moment. I mean, that's been happening for a minute. I just think that, like, because of Charlotte Kirk shit and like a few other factors, has kind of led to a little bit less of that right now. But even then, like, that didn't last long, and whatever of that glue is still holding on isn't going to last forever either. I mean, unfortunately, the bullshit of having to like never not hear his name ever again, like, that's just going to be fucking ridiculous, especially for the foreseeable future as it stands right now. But yeah, like, I mean, these cracks have been shown for quite a while. I just think now they're getting to a point where a lot of these big name promises, especially when it comes to the economy that Trump was promising, which obviously were never going to happen. Like, now people are really, especially farmers too, are really starting to feel this and are been pretty much like very heavily critical towards the administration now because of his lack of really doing fucking anything outside of fucking them over, which that's Trump's forte. That's obviously going to happen. But at least, like, the fact that there's at least, a lot of this critical pushback, even within businesses, is a good thing. It's not, I mean, I kind of wish it wasn't like the Soy Farmers Association or whatever the fuck that's like leading the charge or some shit, but, like, that is something that, is a thing. And arguably, I mean, it's still good. But, I mean, like, really, the fucking goddamn, like, like a soy farm association thing kind of shows you where, like, the money interest is when it comes to farmers and, like, when it comes to the priorities and policies there. Because it's not about the actual farmers, that are, like, actually tilling the fields and picking the fruits and all this other shit. It's, it's the owners of these farms that are getting all the hands out. Yeah, like you just said, Mornax, the real welfare cranes. Though, to me, it's more of like farm owners that own farms, more so than actual farmers. Because the actual farmers are the workers that till those fucking lands, that actually work the land and shit. Those are the farmers. I don't consider, Jim Bob McPherson over there, like that has had like a multi-generational farm and he has barely, touched the till that fucking land outside of maybe like once or twice because he had to like, desperately find some more workers, after they all got deported or some shit. You know what I mean? You think that motherfucker's tilling fields? No, he's not. He's tilling up all the cash, though, at the end of the day after, the business transactions when it comes to his profits and harvests and all that, but he ain't fucking, actively doing that. Maybe he's sending his 15-year-old kid to go work with Jose or some shit, but that's about as close as it gets. You see, son, I did this when I was 15 when my dad was basically making Jose Juan over there work, and now their sons are working for us, and now you're going to do it too. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? I'll say this at least, like, for, like, my uncle, or, well, not literally uncle, but, we just kind of, I nickname him that just because, like, he kind of is to the families pretty much for the most part. But my aunt's husband, like, he at least, I can arguably say that he actually is, like, a farmer despite being, like, kind of a retired, like, white dude. Like, because, I mean, I've been through their property. They actually, like, actively kind of, like, they have, like, a little, like a fish farm, with a big pool with like I think bass and trout. They got like and some other life in there too to kind of keep the ecosystem good, because obviously if you just had that, just those two fish in there, and it wouldn't really be well. And and a couple crops, not a lot, but just a little bit. If they wanted to like have some peppers or some shit like that when they're like cooking up something, then they got a little side garden basically. But it's like heavy garden light farming basically for all intents and purposes. The property is honestly like the house itself is way more fucking impressive than what they have going on. And plus, just acres of just forested shit where, you know, he used to go hunting, but now at this point, he just, even if he takes his rifle out, you know, he'll just sit at the, you know, hunting blinds and just stare at boars and deer just as they walk by and shit like that. So, I mean, he doesn't really, you know, he's not really like active as much about it anymore, but he's like arguably like one of the very few that legitimately can be considered like a farmer in this country that also not only like works the land a little bit, but also like is somewhat wealthy, you know, and certainly, you know, fairly well off. I want to say like upper class, but definitely like, you know, upper middle class. Or, you know, comfortably middle class, I'd say. Argentina, I'm gonna pull Wilson's pro game move. Oh yeah, and now America's bailing him out. Our taxpayer dollars are bailing him out too. Not just Israel, but Argentina too now. Gotta love that. And by the way, no one's really talking about that either. I've not really seen many articles on that. I mean, there's been a few since, you know, I've initially heard the news, but it's not really being discussed that much. And you think it'd be pretty fucking important. Because, I mean, you know, that's just another thing where our taxpayer dollars are just being flushed away. You think that pissed people off right now? I wonder why they're not reporting it on as much. Probably because of that. Because they know that's what would happen. Worldwide and make the USA's new export cash crop. How? That's literally impossible. What the fuck? You can't just like push for legalized cannabis worldwide, bro. And he can't even do it on a federal level, nor does he want to. I mean, legally or technically we can, but like, it's not really necessarily how the legal system when it comes and the logistics of how that shit works. That's just not how it works. And Trump is actually pretty active about going the opposite direction instead of a hands-off approach or even like being in favor of it. Like he's definitely against weed. Like he's been eyeballing about rescheduling it, so it's like back to Schedule 1. That definitely sounds like a guy who don't give a shit about weed and wants to stay hands-off and leave it to the states. Definitely. Maybe he held that position once upon a time. Maybe his first term he held that position, but that's not how he feels anymore. He's gotten way more conservative on that issue. You really think any of this changes the minds of his cult? I mean, well, the ones who aren't completely fucking outright rotten and like brain rotten. Because there are a lot of them, even if they're still like kind of tacitly supporting Trump now, they are definitely a lot more critical about him. At least some of them are, you know, in comparison to not. Like, in effect, there are definitely a few of them that are like, yeah, fuck this guy. Yeah, I voted for it twice, shit, but you know what? I didn't think it'd be this stupid. So, I mean, you know, it's not enough for really an influential segment of the population, but, you know. We're not even a year into this. Don't remind me. Let's just fingers crossed hope that this motherfucker croaks and we get JD Vance because he'll be such a lame duck and nothing would happen under his administration. Like, I mean, honestly, think about it. Like, I mean, what actually would he or could he do as president? I'm sure to just keep doing the same Republican GOP shit, which is I kind of would grant. But like beyond that, like when it comes to his own agenda or even trying to keep doing Trump's shit, I don't know about that. I don't think he's going to have any real power or ability to do anything besides just be a lame duck for however long he's there for the rest of the term until the next election cycle. And he sure as shit ain't going to win the middle primary. I mean, honestly, people were wondering why, you know, Trump even picked him in the first place for VP, especially since his past. Like, he used to be pretty critical of Trump and called him, like, I think, you know, he even called him a fucking fascist at one point. So it's like, I mean, you know, obviously he's just there for his own personal agenda. But, like, if you don't have enough support for you just as a person there, you're not getting anything done, dog. You ain't going to do shit. No one really likes you. You're just a joke. Like, I don't think I've heard one positive thing from even MAGA people about JD Vance. Maybe neutral at best. But it's just like, I rarely ever hear shit that, comes out of that guy. I hear more about like Peter Thiel or Stephen Miller or like lesser people in the administration that frankly got more influence and more power than he does. And he's fucking vice president. He's like second in line to the top of the position, and he doesn't have as much power than these other fuckers. Or like Pete Whiskey Breath, it's like, I mean, he's got more power than Vance. I mean, mainly because Trump lets that be the case, but also because just Vance is just not an influential person. No one really goes to him outside of, like, the closest that you ever really got was like a little, hand-me-down of basically doing Charlie Kirk's show once after like the wake funeral bullshit or whatever the fuck, like that was the only thing. And even then, no one really cared that much about it. They were more about like really questioning why he was hosting the show for a day. And some people honestly speculated if he was hijacking the show or something and took it over. It's like, what? I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like, I don't think that guy's going to have any power, any ability to really do anything. Because no one wants him to do anything. Like, he's just there as a lame duck. Frankly, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he, like, puts someone else as vice president and then he immediately steps down and then that person's president. Which will be some Machiavellian shit on whoever, bribes him enough to do that. Because I don't think Vance would want that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's got much of a choice unless he just wants to look like a lame duck the entire time. But then he'll look worse. Like, he would definitely have no chance to, like, run, So his real best bet, if he especially wants to try to maintain presidency, is to just basically be a lame duck. Or at least try to do something, but, like, I don't know. I really don't see him being, a force, in the Republican Party that's, going to be detrimental. Or really a force at all, to be honest. If anything, I'd be more worried about, like, the rest of the party, the broader Republican voter base, the GOP. Like, I'm more about literally everything else around it. Like, because now it's just straight up a power vacuum. Because you're going to have, like, the old guard, like, kind of this new wave conservative movement. And then you got, like, these alt-right, fascist fucks and shit. And overt Nazis and goipers. Like, you got, like, multiple factions of this party here. And they're all going to be vying for that vacuum when Trump's gone. Vance included. But I think he's part of, like, the new wave of, like, conservative, like, old guard style politics. With that blend of, like, alt-right shit, too. Because, he's a younger guy. But I don't know. I just, like, the power, he's just not going to be the head of, like, any broader conservative movement moving forward, especially in the post-Trump era. He's just going to be riding the curtails of whatever it is. Frankly, I'd be surprised if he does actually get some influence and actually ends up being a force, to be reckoned with to some extent, like, when Trump's gone. Like, because if so, I would be like, oh, shit, okay, whoa, Seth Fork really was correct. Don't try to get in the way, Ben Carr. Don't get in the way of my power. Honestly, if that were to happen, if he actually did do some crazy power move shit, it gained like a lot of popularity or something like that, then I'll be like, oh fuck. Oh no, my prediction was wrong. Though I'll admit, I tend to be pretty, like, relatively on the ball, or at least close enough to it when it comes to, like, political predictions, funny enough. So, I don't know. I'd be surprised if, like, my take is, like very fucking off. I don't expect it to be, like, on par or even necessarily, like, super close, but I'd definitely be, like, if it didn't even get remotely, like, near what I think would happen, I'd just be like, what the fuck? I would definitely be like, I got to reevaluate how I assess this shit. It's like, whoa, how did I get that far off the mark? Because, yeah. You just want attention. Warzone? What about it? Ah, Vito. Buddy, Jesus. Oh my god. You big straw. Why? What the fuck? Jeez, man. Oh my god. Ah, you crazy little bastard. Crazy bastard. First my gut, and then he got my junk. What a prick. And even Zukov earlier today got me pretty good. I sat in his chair and he immediately like jumped on me, and then like almost all four of his paws just smacked me right there. It was like almost a quadfecta hit, and I was like, "You motherfucker!" And my dad was just being, my dad's a kind of a fucking moron, because I saved a bunch of different treats that I know for a fact I had it to where Zukov couldn't get to him. Guess what? Zukov got into him because I'm assuming dad gave him one or something. They just left it somewhere where obviously he can get to it. And now he has like no treats again. I'm like, I'm at a point where I'm like, why do I bother? Do I just need to grab a small bag of treats that I'm just going to bring for him that day? And then just like, let him eat them throughout the time I'm just hanging out with him or some shit? Like, guys, what the fuck? I bring a bag or two, some different treats, for him. And then it's like literally like the next day or a day after or something, I'm hanging out with him again and they're all gone. It's like, there is no way. It's like, bruh, the fuck? And frankly, I don't know where the fuck Pops has been either, because every time I'm like over there, he's not there, like at all. And I have like at least the last few times been there for like legit most of the day, and it's like, what? Why is he just not here? I need spaceship class names. I'm out of ideas. That doesn't help me much, bro, because like, what ship class names do you already have? Naming different classes of ships in my game and have no creativity. I mean, I could help you, but this I don't know how I can help you in this format. You know what I mean? Like, if you were showing me some shit, like if I was on a Discord call with you, I think I could be able to answer this, for you way better. Yo, what's up? USS Tug and Ton for the boys. That's a name of a ship. A class of ship would be different. For example, like the Iowa class, because there are multiple different Iowa class battleships, even one of them being its namesake, the USS Iowa, but there's at least like 4 of them. But they're called the Iowa class battleships. Or like a Lexington class, like aircraft carriers, for example. That's another thing. Or like the John Fletcher destroyer classes. I named my flagship class NORAD. Well, a NORAD class. I'd say for here's some like good names for like destroyers. I got I mean, I don't know, like what like type of types of ships do you have? Like, I'm assuming like what cruisers, battle cruisers. Do you have like explorer ships, things like that? Because I mean, those factors kind of play a role because I mean, you kind of want the class name of a ship, to at least, I guess, for space wise, to be at least somewhat, you know, related to its, like what it's more predominantly going to be used for. For example, like, if you have like an explorer exploration type cruiser, that's meant for exploration or something, you can name it like the Explorer class or like the or the Magellan class or something like that. Something that's kind of related to, or maybe like the name of an explorer or, or something like that. You know what I mean? Or something related to exploration. Gunship, escorts, corvettes, frigates, monitors, destroyers, crushers. I'm assuming you mean cruisers. Battle cruisers, battleships, dancers, dreadnoughts, and titans. Lancers. Oh, lancers. Okay. Um, how many like type of gunships do you have? Because I already could think of like two or three. Apache class, Huey class, and Blackhawk class. Why? Because those are pretty heavy duty helicopters and also can be made into gunships if you wanted to. In fact, the Apache is already like a gunship helicopter. It's an attack helicopter. So, kind of self-explanatory names. For like, I don't know, like battleships. I mean, and I already mentioned one, the Iowa class. Make a space version of it. There you go. What's another one? What's like a famous like? What's like a famous battleship? I mean, it's not a battleship, but there's the HMS Hood, so you can have one in her namesake, like Hood class. Um, Bismarck class, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Like the thing is, it really just depends on what we're like looking at, California class, yeah. The Yamato class, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's not that hard to. You don't even really need much creativity. Just like, I mean, especially if it's like in space, like you could literally have classes of ships named after the namesake of older vessels or people, or maybe the admirals or captains of these vessels. Like I don't know who was the admiral of the Yamato, but he would, maybe you can name it a class of battleship in his namesake instead of it being called the Yamato class. You can call it after the admiral who was operating the Yamato. So I mean, there's little, it's just simple little things like that where you can, literally just name it after a person if you wanted to. It's like I said, in World War II, the U.S. Had a class of destroyers called the John D. Fletcher class. Literally just named after a guy named Fletcher, John Fletcher. But it was like his whole full name. Isoroku Yamamoto. Okay, dude, that name is already badass. And his last name is already pretty similar to Yamato anyway. So just call it the Isoroku class. Dude, that's actually a badass name for a battleship, dude. The Isoroku. The Isoroku class of battleships. Dude, that sounds badass, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. See? There's something. I mean, all it is just the dude's name. But it's the admiral, his namesake, for a battleship class. So there you go. There's some. I'm thinking for like Titans. Obviously, one that's kind of generic but obvious. The Titan class, self-explanatory. Another really good one would be um the Tsar class, or maybe what'll be another good one? Stalingrad. Yeah, Stalingrad class. Yeah, I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. Well, Stalingrad wouldn't really be like a city anymore. It'd be renamed to Volgograd. Ah, who gives a fuck? But that would work too. Ooh, I just thought of something that'd be good for because what'd you say you also had, like, frigates, monitors, or destroyers and cruisers or battle cruisers, like for any of those style of ships, like a Gregory Zukov class would work, a Patton, like for George Patton, um, Montgomery wouldn't be bad. Honestly, just like every now and then, like sometimes just naming the class after like a famous admiral or general or something like that is the simplest way to go. Or after a town, or maybe something that's like kind of related. Maybe like you know the Astro class. Something space related to things. Like for like an escort or frigate, since they're already fast. Astro with speed and stuff like that. It makes there's kind of a little correlation stuff around that. So I don't know. There's a it's just kind of just don't overthink it. Basically, just think of like some like a theme, or at least something that I could kind of narrow down, and then just kind of go from there. But at least when it comes to like naming like a class of ship or something, you don't need to overthink it. Like it's more simpler than you think. I mean, honestly, take some inspiration from names of different starship vessels. From like Star Trek or something. My favorite drive you can unlock is the Orion drive, which is based off of real theories. Use nukes to propel your ships through space. Yeah, I don't see how that's going to be realistic, honestly. I mean, I guess it is theoretically realistic and possible, but that just does not seem like a smart idea. You literally would need storage space just for nukes to propel yourself to one destination or another, and also you would need enough of them to slow your ass down when you reach your destination, because you're going to eventually speed up to the point where you got to find a way to slow down so you're not creaming past it or into it, So that's a lot of space. I mean, it's just not practical at all, bro. I admire the attempt, but it's just so fucking unpractical. Solar sails are more practical than that shit. And solar sails aren't really either. Comes in 3 flavors: the original Orion, Advanced Orion, and Antimatter Micro Orion. Oh my fucking god, wow. Yeah, because in a practical idea, let's just like, advance on that and just like, just not learn any better. In fact, let's go into like antimatter, shit instead. Because, why not? What could go wrong there? Or favor of nuclear drives myself. But like nuclear, like warp drives or something? Or like hyperdrives, or like, I mean, if that's what you're saying, then that would make sense. And actually, I mean, instead of warp drives, I mean, we could have like nuclear reactor versions of that. I mean, honestly, like it could be possible. I just if we're saying the same shit, if we're thinking the same thing here. Who the fuck? I'm not even gonna dignify that. Besides with a specter's swing of a sword. Fusion drives are the best efficiently, but fission drives are cheaper and get almost as good, if not dangerous. Oh, yeah, of course they're fucking dangerous. What do you say? I didn't even see it. I'm not dignifying it. You can view the deleted message. You can go look at it. You're a mod. You can see what I deleted. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Español el piquito. No conversational. I know a little bit, kind of. I know you said how are you, which gusta. Didn't even appear for me. You que sorpresa. Pronuncias bien. I'm assuming I have good pronunciation. I would hope so, because shit. I listen to a lot of ska and Hispanic music, and like I'm surrounded by like a lot of like this Portland, Cascadian, Pacific, Hispanic shit. So I mean, I would hope that at least I'm good. Even if I can't really pronounce it or like speak it or anything like that, at least I know how to pronounce it and at least kind of figure out some things. Shay does get her does her lives gets constant trolls. Really fun to swat them. Well, I'm hoping not like literally swat them, but swatting them like a fly. I'm the same way, honestly, but I mean, I wish that more of them would pop up in here. Not enough do, and the ones that do are honestly, they're a little like, but whatever. They don't really annoy me. It's mostly that one dude who comes in here about the foreskin shit. Like, that guy is honestly kind of a little like, what the fuck, dude? Like, please find something else. But, like, whatever. He ain't really harming anyone, I guess. It's low-key racist that, as a child, I thought music only existed in English. Is it low-key racist? No. I mean, obviously, when I was growing up, I thought music was going to be mostly in English because, yeah, I'm listening to Americana music, like rock and roll stuff, metal, because my dad a little bit, jazz, classic, music stuff, like from Dean Martin, the other shit, like, yeah, obviously I'm going to, like, think and assume that, at least to a certain point. But obviously, once you listen to more music and realize that obviously there's just other languages, you realize that they got their own music too, and this and that. And even if you don't or haven't listened to it before, it's there, so. At least for me after a certain point. But yeah, for like the longest time, like as a kid growing up, like up until I was like maybe, I don't know, like 6 or 7, I, didn't listen to anything else, so that's all I knew. But I wouldn't really like immediately think that's racist. That just means that your parents didn't really explore that much music. At least when it comes to music in different languages. But now I listen to like music that will be in all sorts of languages, from like French to German to Spanish to Maori, to Japanese. Like, I'll listen to literally fucking anything. I don't give a fuck if I don't understand what they're saying. I mean, if if they got subtitles or lyrics to a song or something, I could look it up, then yeah, I could figure it out. But either way, I don't really give that much of a shit. It just sounds epic. Especially if a lot of bands like Ningen Isu, which is like a Japanese metal band, or Alien Weaponry, which is New Zealand, but they mostly sing in Maori. I mean, so these bands are just like, shit, I don't give a fuck that I don't understand anything that they're saying, at least when it comes to speaking Japanese or Maori in these respective cases. But it's just like, it's still fucking awesome. it's still badass. Because ultimately, it's the feeling of the music. You don't have to like outright understand everything that's being said in a song to kind of understand the feeling of what's being said. Big old beetle. Your big old butt. Oh, you stretchy boy. Hey, Jazzy. Hi, girl. Come here. Up, up. Plop. So how's Zuzu been? He's been pretty good. He's been a good boy. Oh. Though he did kind of do a little escape artist situation today. And it was just a little after dark, so of course, like with his, Vito like kind of darkened fur, it's like really hard to fucking find him when he's like wandered off. And luckily it's at like a little dead end little street thing, so he always goes up it, so I don't really have to worry about traffic or none of that shit. I just worry about having to like walk through my neighbors' yards and be like wondering and having them wondering what the fuck is going on and why am I wandering around their yard, because I'm like, I'm trying to find my dog. He wandered off and all that shit. He was an idiot. Because he just likes doing that shit. Whoa. Oh, fucking hell, damn, Jazzy. You crazy bitch. Jazzy. You're fine. Why do you do that? You've done that at least like once every time we do this. For no reason. You're just like, is that a tactic? Is there a tactic to this now? You have a little tactic on how you do this? What? Oh my lord. Poor Vito. He's just like, oh. He got pushed away. Now they're fighting each other for it. Crazy ass little mutts. Man, Zuzu especially, like, he's been a little crazy bounce bean. Like, every time, we wander around, he's always like, bounce, bounce, like, everywhere we go. I don't mind. I think it's cute and funny, but it's just like, man, he's always just such a bouncy, excited boy whenever he's just, like, hanging out with me and stuff. Whenever he sees me getting up and move, he's just like, immediately he's up, bouncing around, being like, oh my god, what are we doing now? What are we doing now? It is adorable. Eventually he does chill out and he's just like, what's up? What are you doing? Huh? Where are you going? Gives me this old look. But it's just like, he knows that, like, every now and then we gotta do our little part ways and do our thing. Luckily, he's still doing good. And it seems like that little Fleet Chew med that I gave him the other day, too, is working really well. There's the spots that usually would normally, like, kind of nip at, he hasn't anymore. When I was brushing him, it was just all, like, flaky, kind of like some dead, scruff skin off. Which actually is a good thing, because that means that it's just healing off, these little nubs that you will, like, trying to, or, like, a little flea bite or something. Which luckily, I mean, it wasn't bad in the first place, but he had like a couple spots because I mean, like before, now that the fall's starting to set in, there was like one more little like spike of like fleas that popped up, but now there hasn't anymore. But he still obviously is going to have them on him, if there's not like an outbreak anymore. But now that it looks like it definitely worked, because he's definitely nowhere near as like scritchy scratchy, and if anything, he's just like grooming off all of his dead flaky shit off of him from his spots, at least from what I've noticed. He's been more licking himself like a cat more than anything, so good sign, I guess. But like I said, it wasn't even that bad. It was just like really like near his, like his base, his tail, and his little butt, where there was like a little small spot, and then he had like one little spot like by his like back leg. But now those are like kind of healed up, and I look all fuzzy and shit. And if anything, like I said, there's just kind of like when I was brushing him, some of those flakes would come off, and he would just stretch out, be like, "Oh my god, yes, get me in that spot." Like he was stretching, like having his feet out, just like wagging that tail. Like he just was going nuts for the brush, dude. He loves brushes. He loves brushing, which makes me wonder why these two don't really get brushed, that much. At least every now and then, because I know, especially for Zukov, he loves it. He just cannot help himself but just be like, "Oh my god, the brush." To him, it's just like bliss. I was thinking I would try to swing by for tomorrow to pop, see him, but honestly, like, I got the show with Rev from got at least meet by like 1:30, but it's from like 2 to 4. Then after that, I was gonna see my mama, but she's in fucking literally the opposite side of town. That's gonna take all fucking day. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to have time now that I think about it, which fuck. That's gonna be enjoyable. At least the show tomorrow will be enjoyable. I wonder if Portland's going to get brought up for the show tomorrow. I know there's also going to be another guest too. I think some guy named Drake, which I have no idea who that is. So first time hanging with that guy. But I also just realized, I think honestly, like the last few times I've been on the show, Krendar hasn't been on as like a host. So I'm just like, well, shit. Hopefully he's been feeling better, because I think the last few times he's always has not been feeling well and been kind of sick or at work or something like that. Every time. And the last time we were was when there was like a bunch of audio issues, so we ended up having to have that show canceled. I was like, fuck. And it's with Magicus too, and I was like, shit, I haven't talked to him in a fat minute, and he was a guest, and it's like now that it's like, son of a bitch. The rush of the brush is real. It is, dude. I like how both of them abandoned me to go to the pops, which I don't blame those doggos. They should watch over his papa. He ain't feeling good. And surprising, like that I'm not even feeling that bad, since we're like the two that hang out with each other the most, and he's feeling shit, and I'm not. So I guess whatever he has, I'm probably immune to, or I just am asymptomatic, or I just didn't get. Because I know you had like a lung thing where it was definitely a bacterial thing, and then he got over that, and then it immediately just got into that, which is definitely like some cold flu thing or something. Yo, BR, don't fall off. Damn. Yeah, I need to get updated on my shit, to be honest. It's been a minute. Like, it's been a fat minute. So I definitely need to get some updates on that shit myself eventually. Then honestly just do like an all-around body checkup. Even if that takes a while. I just want to like, see if I can get like some appointments up to where I can just do like a general basic physical and all that shit, and see how the body's holding up. How we doing? Like, what's my vitamin levels? Like, do I need more fiber? Like, is my cardio okay? Should I be running more? And this and that, little things like that. Because I haven't really done one of those. So, and I think honestly, it's good every now and every so often to just do that. And I've always been meaning to do that at some point. I just never have. And I'm like at a point where I'm like, you know what? I just got to do it. I need to do that. I need to make sure I'm Gucci, especially when it comes to at least like certain health shit, like with my gut bacterial stuff. Like when it comes to sometimes in the morning, like I get like gastroesophageal like reflux, flare ups, not debilitating, but there have been times in the past where it can be, but so it's just there's different little things where I'm like, what should I do, to like make sure I, get some of these things I know I got, measured and at least and maintained and, like at least medicated to some extent, but also at least like what should I do with like diet, other stuff, other factors. Obviously, definitely exercise, needs to play a role, for sure. I already know that without needing, a doctor checkup for that, especially for things like cardio and just like muscle build up, things like that. So, but there's definitely a lot of things where I want to know my body more to make sure that it's all Gucci, especially with like certain parts of my body where I'm like, are things running good? Is my heart doing okay? My lungs fine? Despite the fact I smoke weed and shit. Like, is that Gucci? Is like my gut stuff all right? Is my liver, pancreas, or is everything working accordingly as it should for a man my age? You know what I mean? Because I want to make sure. It's my like, and or my like, testosterone and fertility levels okay or whatever the fuck. Not that I care about the fertility level or anything of that shit, but like, is that okay? If I'm infertile, I don't give a fuck about that. But is everything else about it all right? You know what I mean? Just I gotta check on my health. Beer and weed diet is a proven winner. Oh yeah, and especially if you take my streams as literally how I just run my life the entire time. I literally just run strictly off of beer and weed. Every now and then whiskey sometimes. Literally nothing else. I will say, like, honestly, I mean, yeah, those are definitely things that are like those are vices, and I recognize that for sure. And they probably aren't doing, the best when it comes to my health and shit. But honestly, at least especially for like the beer factor, like, I mean, like I honestly arguably used to be pretty fucking bad about it. Like, honestly, I mean, like I'll be a little liberal here and there, but like at this point, I might have like like at least for stream wise like two beers, and like when I ain't streaming or doing any of that shit or just doing my day to day whatever, like I don't really have any at all. Maybe one, but like so I mean obviously I'd make an exception doing these, but like even then, I'm kind of cut back down to it. Like I used to like when it comes to these beer acts I have, like I used to do like three or four of those, average. Now it's like two, maybe three if I'm feeling a little liberal about it. So it's at a point where it's like, eh. And even then, it's just like, it's not a constant thing. And at this point, I just sip them. Like, I kind of just like sipping them more than, like, just being buzzed off of it. Because at this point, I used to, like, get them for the buzz, but now I've gotten such a acquired taste to them that I actually like the taste of them. Like, I actually like IPAs now, and that, I'm kind of a little beer bougie a little where I do kind of sip them for taste at this point. I mean, if I had more money, I'd do other things instead, but it's cheap, and so that's, sense of habit for something that's cheap, basically at that point. At least for the weed thing, at least, that one isn't even really that big of a deal. I know there is definitely some studies about like this, like I forgot exactly what it was called. I know Mornex, you were like bringing it up once, like because there's like one time where I got pretty fucking sick, where I know it wasn't GERD, and I think you were bringing up as like, yeah, this is I think cannabis related. I forgot what that was called, and I know basically the way to stop that is to, well, just not smoke or have THC. But it's like, I mean, I'm a stoner, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a little. I mean, I know honestly there's easy ways to deal with it, though. Either you just tough it out and you just drink water and just push through it, or you do what's called like a flash bath or a flash shower. So, you take a very hot shower, or like, have a bath doesn't really work unless you have two baths, but I mean, if you do, then that works as well. But like, you basically take a very hot shower, and you sit in there for a while, and, you let the heat, get to you, get the warmth of all that. And then you blast that motherfucker all the way to cold, and you stay in there as long as you can. I'm not joking. You go in there and you fucking, force your ass for at least a minute, if you can longer. Now, like, because even for me, I don't like cold water and shit, and you probably can imagine how I'm like, like it wakes you the fuck up and shit too, and you kind of have the urge to go, like kind of scream for a sec or something. You just have to be like, just sit for it, and then blast it back to hot again, and let the warmth hit you a little bit, and just turn it off, and you're fine. Usually, you still have to kind of be like, oh fuck, and you're still gonna be miserable for a little bit. But usually, in times past, that has helped me, especially, kind of clear it out pretty quick. Now you have to kind of go in your between periods of being miserable and puking, like, and just being like, you have to kind of do it in between a phase where you're like, okay, I can get up for like 30 minutes. And I think it should be fine, and just do it really quick. And I promise, like, it will help. Like, maybe it doesn't kill it right away, but it does help, where it will cut that shit down from like what might be like a 12-hour ordeal to like maybe 4 or maximum like 6. At least in my experience, it's helped immensely. So, I mean, beyond that, I really don't know what other ways there are to do it besides just flash shower yourself, or just force yourself to just push through it and just hope you have a lot of water with you. And maybe a puke pot or something, or a window that you can puke out of or something, because like you're going to be doing that a lot. And it definitely sucks, but I mean, at least for me, I've only ever happened like maybe, I don't know, 6 times ever. And it's like a year to year and a half whenever it does. So it's like not really common, but obviously it's starting to become more of a frequent thing just in the general populace, because weed's more accessible. People do it more often, me included. So it's obviously a thing where it happens. And honestly, like, even my brothers had this shit happen before, even before it was legal. So I think there's just some people in the population that are probably more dispositioned to have eventual side effects, where for whatever reason your body just doesn't, it just can't, it just can't, basically for whatever reason. It's like, no, we're just dying now. We're suffering. So, and I've seen it with my brother. I've seen him like straight like have to be taken to the emergency shit, and at least at that time, it was kind of an unknown factor outside of just giving some basic meds to, kind of make him not puke and shit and not feel so shitty, and then just go from there, basically. Honestly, the worst time one of these, events like this happened to me was actually at a concert or going to a concert. Actually, I was going to see fucking Tool, and I haven't seen him before yet. So it's the one and only time I've seen Tool, and it literally like hit me after we had lunch with a longtime friend we haven't seen in forever who lives in Eugene, and like I just it literally hit me like while we are having lunch. And once I was done, I was like, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta hit the bathroom really bad. And it just ever since after that moment, yeah, and just pretty much, despite the chicken sandwich I had being so goddamn delicious, I was just like, it just came all back out. I was just like, oh no. I was like, that chicken sandwich. No. I was so sad. But, at that point, I was like, oh, fuck. At this point, I kind of knew. I was like, oh no. Well, let's just hope that I can hold it back enough and we'd be chill. And no, even wandering around, like we ended up going into downtown Eugene because we had like another like 2 hours before I had to go see the venue, and we were just like walking around, check place out. It was just me, Rip, too, and I feel so bad for him because he was kind of not babysitting me, but kind of having to like handicap walk speed, with me while I'm sitting there like, oh fuck, all right, hold on, okay, sweat balls, hold on. Okay, I'm not feeling so bad. Hold on. All right, catching up. All right, cool. Oh, damn, this river's actually pretty cool. Or something like it was bad. I'm surprised I didn't have like an incident while I was like going for security and all that shit. But nah, it happened once we kind of sat down. I'm like, I saw some bathrooms real quick. Sorry, bro. I have to hit those. You drill. Oh, it was terrible. At a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm not like going back and forth like every 30 minutes. And I hate to be that guy, but I was like behind the seat. I kind of looked around. I'm like, okay, like we're at a seat position where my seats, there's like this big concrete wall that's like up to here. And then there's like another, shit, where there's people there, right? But they're, like another row of seats, but like it's like that high up, but there's like a 1 foot ish like space between my seat and the wall, and I was like, I'm trying to watch Tool. I'm sorry, I had to. I went behind the chair and be like, okay, because there's also a water fountain in between the bathroom and going back to my section of the area of the arena that we're at. So I was like, I was drinking a bunch of that after every time. I was like, fuck it, I got to go in there because I wanted out the water, really, that water fountain. So every time I was doing that, I was just trying to suppress it as much as I could, but it was just water after a certain point. I was like, you know what? At least it's just water. Goddamn, that live show's pretty amazing. Fuck, I love this song. This is nice. I'm like, all right, I'm suffering, but this is cool. I only really truly got to appreciate maybe like a third of the show and kind of saw like really like maybe a little over half of it, but because I was suffering so much, I really couldn't actually like enjoy it. So I'm hoping the next time that Tool comes to Oregon, whether it's Eugene or Portland or wherever, I'm taking the first chance I can to see him again because that was fucked. Like the one time I kind of saw them, I barely did because I was suffering. It's like that was bullshit. I definitely got to make that that time up, especially if Ripstate has a chance to go to it too. Because then him and I can have a beer or two or something like that at the show and actually chill and actually have a good time while he's having a good time and I'm over here just dying. Like that's just that's just miserable. We'll say, funny enough, that's actually the only time I've ever really been like sick at a concert. Like I've gotten like dehydrated and like, oh fuck, I'm like really kind of dizzy and winded like after shows. Well, actually, there was actually one other time. The first time I saw Mon Marth, and I think they were actually my second show I went to. I got dragged into the pit so much that I literally had the wind knocked out of me to the point where I was like seeing stars and kind of like dizzy for the rest of the show for the most part. And luckily there was this just fat fucking fan, by the side of the fucking, venue, like near the front. So I'm like, okay, I can still see this band. I'm next to this fucking fan because this is helping me, and I don't feel like. Now I feel like, okay, I'm still dizzy. There's some stars here and there, but I'm chilling. And near the end of the set, I eventually recovered enough to where I saw my friend Tyler in the pit. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling energetic and I'm all right. I just wish there was like a water station maybe around that area, because if there was, I would have been like pounding some water hardcore, because I know I probably needed some. Which the thing is, I had food and had like something to drink. It wasn't necessarily like water, but like it was at least like a juice or something like that. That I got when I got like I think it was like some tacos. I don't even fucking remember what I got, but I know something like that. But I guess not enough water though. I know that much because I learned my lesson with that. But beyond that, like actually getting like sick or feeling sick, like it never really happens unless it's outside. Like once I'm done with the show, because now I'm like sweaty, moshed out. Now I'm like I've had some whiskey cokes or some beer at that show. Spent too much money on that probably. Fuck, I need some water and some food, or I'm crashing bad. And if there's a bar open, usually there is. I'm like, I'm going there. I'm just gonna order like a quick bite and be like, hey, I'll grab like a light cider and then like some water or something. And just chill with that. And just be on my merry way, taking the Max home or something. You think it late? What the fuck does that have to do with anything that I'm saying or talking about? And what does my, like personal sexual life have to? What does it have to do anything to do with anything here? Like, why is that being brought? Why? I like how Brandon just likes to cut the shit off with random absurdities. The average Antifa super soldier is a furry with a dildo in their ass while pee-pewing. That's actually kind of impressive. You're saying that like that's a diss, but if you're having like a straight up dildo in your ass, like while you're able to like be in active like potential like quote combat situations or whatever the fuck, and you have a dildo in your ass, and it's just in there, like it doesn't have like a plug or a knot or anything. Like it's just regular old dildo, for the most part. Like, and you got like it's in there. You got it locked in, and it ain't sliding out. You're saying it like it's a diss, but that's kind of fucking impressive if you think about it. It's kind of morbid and frankly a little like what the fuck, yes, but I mean impressive nonetheless. I don't think I could do it. That takes like some glutinous maximus like muscle strength and shit. You know what I'm saying? It takes like a certain skill. some sphincter muscle skills, dude. It takes a certain level of skill when it comes to that, bro. You got to work them glutes in right, for that to be the case, and I don't. I know that for sure. The average Patriots meth addict loser, or a Big Mac, every 6 hours a day kind of guy that also has to take their diabetic medication and also that's like sciatica or whatever. Like, what's kind of also funny is that like there's when it comes to like firearms and shit, what I love that is a misnomer about like the West Coast is that we're so anti-gun here, but it's like we really aren't, and this includes California as well. Because I'm sorry, but like, yeah, California especially has probably got some of the strictest gun laws in the country, but they also got the most fucking guns. And you really think that every single one of those gun owners is some Republican chud motherfucker? Because they sure shit ain't. This includes Oregon, and this includes Washington as well. Like, I mean, there's plenty of us that are not like some real like gun-toting yo motherfucker that likes their guns. The misnomer of the idea that like every like leftist or liberal or progressive, on the West Coast is going to be some, oh God, guns. It's just so retarded. Especially being a leftist like myself, who is also a major advocate for, strict gun reform and strict gun regulation. I will admit that. But also, I love my guns. Oh, I love them. And I'm also on that position of you ain't taking them out of my fucking hands either. But we can also do some strong regulation around them as well. Mostly when it comes to licensure, to make sure we know who actually is able to fucking properly own them. I don't give a fuck about the politics of it all. I just care if you actually are safe and able to operate one and store it properly and know your firearm and actually know how to use it. It's one thing to just have one. It's another thing to actually know how to fucking use it and know it. That's another thing that needs to be considered when it comes to regulation on it too, is the gun that you get to own. Well, guess what? You're going for a training course on that specific weapon, on knowing it, on like what to do when it malfunctions, on every type of malfunction that could possibly happen, especially the common ones, how to disassemble it, how to reassemble it, how to clean it, it's everything. What parts are what, just basic little shit. You don't have to like, literally get like, the knowledge of every little fucking thing like it's a blueprint, but I mean, basic knowledge at least. So you can safely, be assured that, you know that firearm that you are purchasing. Honestly, that's why for my rifle, the first one I got was an AK because they're stupid simple to operate. They're not that hard to use. Or disassemble, or reassemble, or work with, or tinker with, because I've literally learned how to use it just by working with it in my own hands. Just on the virtue of like, knowing it, because it's that easy. It's not that hard to, to work with. That's why I went with that instead of something like an AR-15 personally. Why do you think, even like, why do you think it's like the, the left arm of the free world when it comes to guns? The right arm of the free world is the FAL, but the left arm of the free world is the AK, hands down, and for good fucking reason, because of how stupid simple it is to use and work with. And for most environments, works very well in. Even if it does get all grimy and mucked up. Certain environments, at least. The only shitty thing is about, like, when it comes to the stupid simple gun to get and use, is that ammo is so hard to come by. And expensive. When it is easy to come by, it's expensive. It's like, fuck. I can't get any of this shit. Fuck you, Russia, for this goddamn Russian-Ukraine war, because before then, it was actually cheap. Even at the start of the war, it wasn't that hard to get some. Like, fuck you, Putin. Because shocker, both the Ukrainian and Russian armies mostly use 7.62 by 39 because of the guns they have. So shocker, most of it goes there. Yay me. Can't go target shooting my friends and shit. Boo. I found out like my buddy Marcus is like who's actually in LA right now. I found out that son bitch was shooting for the first time, the other day. I'm like, it wasn't me that took that gunginity from him. It was his homies, while they were going camping. It's like, all right. Now that I know, especially that you chill like that, when there's a chance and there's a dime and date, oh, we're doing it. Oh, because he's going to have some fun with what I have. Oh, he's going to have some fun with it. Oh, for sure. Because from what it looked like, he was just shooting pistols and shotties. Or at least mostly just pistols. So I'm just like, you need an upgrade. And also, I need to get like my boy Tyler out, one of these days too, because like, I don't think he's been to the, to a range yet. And he's got like kind of the cool shit too. He's got a TAR 21 and and some other thing. And it's like, bruh, like, it's like, what's up? What's up with this? Like, hold up. You got all this cool shit, and that most of it was inherited too from his father, from my understand. But like, it's like, huh? It's like, wait. I'm literally like, hold up. There's times where I went, target shooting and stuff. You've had this. You have ammo for everything. You have a free day. I've literally have opened up being like, yo, want to go? And you're like, nah. Yeah, like, he hasn't even shot any of them yet. At all. And it's like, how long have you had them now? Like, excuse me, dude? Like, when I got my first, when I got my, firearms, like, literally within, like, the month. Like, because I'm also saving up, and collecting ammo, before and after I get them. Like, yeah, like, as soon as I have a chance, yeah, I'm taking them out. First chance I get. Like, what? Like, huh? It's like, okay, that's interesting. You would think. Especially because he was kind of happy about, like, getting them and stuff and being like, oh, yeah, look what I got. And I'm like, bro, we should go. We should do this sometime. And he's like, yeah, totally. And it just never happens. It's like, I mean, his schedule is really weird, though, to be fair. But it's like, bruh, I know you have a free day sometime, dude. It's like, come on. Come on. Actually, speaking of, I need to hit him up about a show coming up, too, honestly. I'm just like, oh, fuck. Because that's coming up, and I've been really wanting to go, and I'm thinking if he's actually chill with getting the tickets, then I can at least get him back later, even before the show, and just, at least in the meantime, just because it'd be a little bit more feasible for me, at least in the, in the immediate sense. Because luckily I don't really owe anyone anything right now. I also have Logino, but he's totally fine with just me saving up and not worrying about any of that right now. So it's like that. And I know Tyler ain't gonna give a fuck really necessarily if I like can't necessarily get him back like before the show. Obviously he would want me to, or at least maybe I just get him back by taking him to a show or something. Like him and I like would easily be able to figure something out. Actually, now that I think about it, I could probably just do that. Like, hey, because of my shizzle, my situation that just happened, I'll get you back by taking you to another show at like the beginning of the year, or maybe like later in the year or something like that with another show that comes up. Or fuck, I know there is like a couple other shows I think at the very end and the beginning of the year that are coming up that I'm like, I'm not like a hundo, on the check, but I know Tyler does. So I'm like, do I just say fuck it? I can't right now, but I'm like, maybe I could do that. Now that I think about it. I don't know. I'll have to talk to him about it and see what he says, but I'm sure he'll be chill with it. Because then at least guarantees I have a little something extra in between this fucking job shit. Because fucking, I hate the fucking bullshit technicality garbage shit that they want to get me on. It's like, what the fuck? Honestly, I really feel like that. Like there was a higher up, honestly, that just had it out for me on that shit when it came to the fucking pipe shop. Because like, why would they just simply be like, all right, here's a warning, just don't do that again? And also, since you pointed out that there is this bypass option, we're gonna make sure that no one has that and this and that, blah blah. Like, if I'm actually even being honest to the point where I'm pointing out a flaw in your system, why? Like, it's kind of like a what the fuck kind of thing. Even for me trying to be like, hey, like, trying to at least, bring Joan case in. And at least with my boss, he was like, look, it's literally wasn't my decision. I was actually fine with the warning thing and glad that you were humble and honest about everything. So blah, 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 blah. Now I'm like, so it just obviously wasn't his decision. So somebody else from above him that had the final word, like talk some, sweetness, to be like, nah, fuck him. It would, especially considering that I was, for all intents and purposes, like not a bad worker there at all. If anything, like I went out of my way sometimes to make sure that things were put in their system right, because like there was way more often that I would like to, care to count, where I would try to check something out, product not found, and I would have to go like look it up and realize that like the barcode, that is supposed to scan is not the correct one. I'm like, oh my god, now I have to fucking edit this, or at the very minimal, bypass it by grabbing a different one of the same product of a different flavor, whatever the fuck, and then just going that route with it. Which usually that's just a quick way to do it, so I at least get the customer out and whatever, and they still get their shit. And then I have to at least, then afterwards, when there's that downtime, then figure that shit out. It's like I would at least do shit like that. I mean, like I would literally go out of my way to like, even to stock up different things. So I'm like, oh yeah, we got like one of these left. And I remember seeing the box in the back, so let me stock this up really quick. Like it's like, what the fuck, and like with doing like the 12-hour day, the 10-hour day that happened, like all that shit. It's like, really? Guess I'm glad there isn't necessarily any hard feelings if like Boston and listen to coworkers shit, but like at least when it comes to the higher ups, like low key kind of fuck them, because they obviously aren't really competently running their business properly if they're willing to just like keep that place understaffed. And it was already understaffed while I was there. Why do you think I'm doing like 12 or 10-hour days? Like evidently you're already having problems with staffing this fucking place, and now because of the one mistake that the new guy made, the one time, I guess it was just too much, despite it being over a technicality. I don't know. It definitely is some ridiculous shit. Especially when I wasn't the only one doing that. Like plenty of coworkers would just be like, all right, checked you out, you're a regular, bypass it, don't need CRD because you're a regular here. And there are plenty of regulars even I've seen where I've done that too. Because other people, it's like, so obviously, like, and this is with anywhere else too. Like, even with dispos that I've been to, where I'm a regular at dispos, they're like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Just for the camera, I'll have my ID out just for, because it's camera's sake. But they're not even really bothering to look at that point. They'll just, like, glance for a sec, or at least look like they are, but they're just already, like, what kind of get you? Because they already know, they already know you. I mean, like, and when even with the regulars, I was like, as long as it's like for the cameras, or if they're just that common of a regular, then what the fuck? I don't think it should matter that much. In fact, honestly, most of them are such regulars to the point they already would have their ID out, and it just wouldn't be a big deal. I wouldn't even have to say anything. And the biggest bullshit of it all is that, like, everyone, was like the termination factor. It's like, because everyone around was like, yeah, hey, write-ups do happen for, honestly more serious things than this, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. You know, don't feel bad if anything, it's good that, at least you brought some other things up. Like, they were all, like, actually kind of, like, chill about it. If anything, I was going to ask one of them about, like, this whole, like, 30-day probation thing that I noticed that was a part of the write-up thing, because I wanted to ask about that, but I guess it didn't fucking matter anyway. But I was kind of like, wanting to ask, like, what does that mean? Just because I honestly just don't know. Because even at my work, when I've been written up in the past, like, I've never seen that or heard of it. So, like, I mean, it, again, don't matter now, but it's just like, that was going to be something that I was going to ask about, at least if not that day, at least some other day, to be like, what's up with that? Just out of curiosity. Not that I have a problem with it. So I don't know. It's just so fucking shitty with how it went down. At this point, it's like the only like thing I kind of care about is at least just getting the number of like one of the coworkers that I'm actually the most chill with, because I don't have his number yet. Which I'm pretty sure he's gonna be like working tomorrow or something. I have to double check. If not, I could probably just go in there and just ask one of them and be like, hey, what's his number? Because, I've been meaning to get it anyway, and just so we could probably hang out and blah, blah, blah. So, and if anything, maybe, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I never use my $20 20% off discount. Can I use it? Like grab like, a couple things and be like, you don't have to know I was terminated, wink. You just thought I had a few days off for whatever reason, and if they ask any questions, you didn't know. I just kind of hate, especially because of how like the job market is right now. It's just like, I guess it's easier now that like all the high schoolers and college kids aren't going to be like as job grubby for summertime, so it's going to be at least a little easier. Plus, easier to at least maintain it as well, just because then it's like, hey, I ain't just a seasonal dude. I'm here for a while. And luckily, there's at least already a couple places I'm kind of like, followed up with a little bit. At least, a lot of them I had to kind of pretty much just reapply because it's just been a while, been, long enough at this point. So, plus, at least, a few places that, I haven't yet, but figured, fuck it, might as well. So, if anything, honestly, the silver lining though is at least got more recent work history. I can just say that honestly, they legit just kind of fucked me over. And even if there is like a little white lie about like, it was bad like pay or this and that or whatever else, it don't really matter too much as long as they know it's like, hey, I'm just trying to work. Like, I went out of my way to be a pretty good worker and explain general details, but because of like them not being like right with my pay and this and that or whatever, like then I was just like, I just need to go somewhere else that's just more legit. So if anything, that actually kind of looks good to a degree, because like it just shows that like, hey, I'm trying to go out my way to be a good worker, but if like I just want to just make sure that I'm getting paid properly and just being treated fair, but I just wasn't. And at that place, like especially as a new guy, and I'm just looking for work. That's all I'm trying to do. This got fucking wild that we're kind of in that like era where it's we're kind of like not literally, but we're at like that era where you got like the person with the sign on the side of the corner just being like, don't need much, just look for a job, kind of sign. Someone got canned. Yeah, I did. Where you, I talked about it on stream, like I think on Thursday or something like that. I talked about it a couple of days ago. That's the have been on. I mean, I kind of figured that's why you're asking, but like, yeah, like it was literally over a technicality, like because they like one of the owners had one of their daughters pop in and do this like flip up like here's an idea because I kind of remembered like hey, can I see an idea real quick, and instead of handing it to me because they have this system where they want you to scan the ID like with their scanner, like which also is the scanner for the barcodes to check items out and stuff like that. Because a lot of places don't have that. So sometimes you just look at the ID and just validate that your date of birth is over the date that is for the legal purchasing, right? So which I know is at least like two, like a day before today in 2004, essentially. So pretty simple, right? So it's like as long as that like it's 2004 and before the month of October, basically for all intents and purposes, then it's valid, right? So it's like flips it up, take a quick look. I saw that day of birth. I was like, cool, and did the little bypass thing, which that's a flaw in their system. If I pointed it out and they're like, okay, we cannot allow that, and we're going to make sure that everyone, especially at the store, does not have that bypass anymore because that's not acceptable and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, hey, this is just how I was trained. I'm apologize if there was like there's some mistakes. Like I'm just trying to like make sure I do it right. So like thank you. So honestly, if anything, I was like, thanks for pointing it out, and they were chill about it. Like I said, like I got a warning, like a little write up about it, which I was fine with. I'm like, hey, yeah, like if it was a fuck up, it was a fuck up, even if it's technicality, because I don't want like a tiny little mistake being like this whole big thing. Because if I was like, an undercover state operative, then yeah, everyone would be fired and the whole store would be shut down. So I get it, but it's just like, it's a technicality thing. It's like, it's not like I didn't invalidate, their idea or whatever to some other shit. It was just like how they specifically tried to like swing about it instead of like you know bringing it out because they were trying to do a test and shit. But it's like if it's but if it's like if especially with other places, whether it's like other smoke shops or I'm at a convenience store, and they ask for the ID, I always whip it out, and they would just look at it and give it back to me like 99% of the time. The other times they'll do a scan and goes through, and at least especially most of the time I have my passport, so sometimes it don't, but they'll be like, well, all right, well at least it's valid, so here you go. So they wrote you up and turned around and fired you. Yeah, a few hours later. But the thing is, like my boss and even some of the other like one of the other district managers who's fairly frequent that comes to the store because it was the distribution store as well. So other store managers and district managers come in there to do their shit. And she just happened to be in there for the day, and all that. But it's like and yeah, like between her, and my other coworker, and who even he himself said, "Yeah, I've been rid up a bajillion times. Like, it's not really something to fret over. Don't worry about it. Like, it happens to the best of us sometimes. You just gotta be on your shit, especially now, that they're gonna probably eyeball you and stuff. Just stay on your shit, man, and you should be all right." And I was like, "All right, cool." And I definitely was. Like, I made sure every fucking time after that, I'm like, "Hey, can I see your ID? Because I gotta scan it." Policy. I just refer it to everyone, even like some other people who are regulars are like, I know how to show my ID. I'm like, well, I know it says over 40, we don't need to scan, but I already kind of got chewed out about it. Like, it's policy. I just seen you do it, man. Sorry. And they're like, all right, well, here you go. They wouldn't give me shit about it because I just explained it to them. They're like, all right, fine. Cool. Don't want you to get chewed out again or something, So they were sympathetic about it. But about like, I don't know, an hour and a half to 2 hours, something later, I got text from my main boss saying that I was terminated effective immediately to turn my keys in, to my coworker and just fucking dip. And I was like, what? And I'd try to, like later that day, be like, "Hey, man, I think is there a misunderstanding because like I got a warning and honestly there it was like a flaw in the policy and all this other stuff like at least not the policy, but at least like in the system. And honestly, that was just how I was trained, and I didn't realize that that was a mistake. Like, is there a way to have a second chance here? And like, especially considering I've been trying to go over the top, and I like working here, and I think you and everyone else chill. And blah blah. And he's like, look, I honestly agree with you, but it's not my place to say because it was the higher up's decision. Like one of the owners was like, nah, no exceptions. Like we can't have this, and it was the final say. So like it was just like, well, fuck, that's shitty, I guess. I mean, but at least the last paycheck came through, and it was a nice juicy one. So I mean, at least I got some money to hold on to. But like, I ain't like looking to be in this position in square one again for fucking long, especially now that I have at least a more recent work record. You just got fired for doing nothing wrong, and now again, yeah. And I mean, I guess there is the technicality of it all, which I get, but like, still, I mean, I've been there for like really barely a month, really barely over a month. Like, I was officially hired, I think, like like I did like training paid and stuff, just before my trip to Chicago for like 2 shifts, and then officially got on their system on like the 12th, and then on the first of this fucking month, this shit happens. And it's like, really? I mean, and the thing is, like, I was already kind of like a little like, I'm not really too sure how I feel about working here, anymore as it was, but I was at least gonna hold on to it for a while, at least until something else came through. Even to at least have 2 jobs, then I do part time, and I'm only working like weekends there or something, But it don't matter now. Uh, Time to move to Chicago. Fuck. Man, dude, don't tempt me, bro. You know what's fucked? I already have this like kind of like urge, not from me, but like from some folks, including my brother, to be like to go to Dallas, And honestly, if there were to be anywhere in this country, I personally would want to go to try, a start in life, that isn't Oregon. If I had to leave, the PNW, it would be Chicago. But man, dude, fuck all that. Like, I'm gonna be here for the long term. For now, Texas, yeah. I mean, and and honestly, in a weird way, that's the one I'm kind of the least like. Fuck that, because I could my cousin who does welding and all that other shit, and that makes heavy fucking money. And I know it would be nepotism, but I don't have to be there for long, just enough to save up enough, come back here and invest in the right shit, and I'll be set for a while. Just have to find a good trade, and especially now that I got welding skills, I could probably find a decent trade. So I mean, that's the only thing that I am like considering when it comes to Texas, because I can make that like a 3 to 4 month or however long, like a training apprenticeship in paid, for my cousin. Like, I mean, something like that. I can stay there for as long as that needs to take, and then come back here. But now I got money saved because I ain't gonna be spending shit out there. It's like maybe like a vehicle, I guess, because I'm gonna probably need to have a license and drive because it's fucking Texas. So, I mean, but beyond that, like, I mean, I ain't spending money on much. If you're on the job training, hell yeah. Well, and paid on the job training. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. That's the only reason why I'm like, that's the only reason why I'm thinking about it is because, like, I like my cousin. Him and I are cool. Like, I mean, he has a welding business and shit. Like, so if I were to go down to Texas and, for any reason outside just visiting family for myself, it'd be that, but it wouldn't be forever. It'd only be for a short amount of time, and I would literally have an agreement with him, being like, "Hey, I'm only doing this until I complete like a training apprenticeship and I qualify and I have enough money saved to where when I move back up, to my part of the little world, like I can kind of coast on out while I find like a decent little welding trade around in my neck of the woods because there's definitely plenty of maybe not plenty, but there's definitely there's it's around. And in between that, I could take like a little side gig, bartending or something. I at that point I could easily like it'd be like a couple bucks equivalent at that point, to get OLCC at that rate. I could do a little side gig doing dispensary or bartending work or something at that point. Then so I don't like there I could kind of see like an actual opportunity with that, but the same thing though, it's Texas. I got to figure out this and other things too. I got to make sure I have a supply, you feel me? Like, and I ain't getting no goddamn medical license there either. Their medical legal shit is trash. Fuck that. So I need I need some other methods. Let's just put it that way. I'm gonna need some other means for that. Cause I ain't risking bringing that over. I would have to be like packaging like cartel level shit basically to do that. And I'm not. No. All jokes, YouTube. This is never happening. Just literally be like a cartel, have like, saran wrap like bricks just in my suitcase or some shit. Like that would just totally bypass TSA easily. Well, if there's a government shutdown, maybe it'll work. All jokes, YouTube. I'm joking, YouTube and feds. I'm joking. All content is satire. Shit, dude. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it, not that I'm like genuinely considering it, but it really is kind of like a thought, at least. But if I were to, it's like, dude, I'm gonna have to like know a homie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna need to know a motherfucker. Because, like, dude, there's like that would have to be the only way. Because there's no fucking way, dude. I am not gonna be like dry county status the entire time I'm down there. No way, Jose, sir. I mean, nuh-uh. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, that's just not that's just a no-go. If that's like a consequence of it all, then I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll suffer up here. Because at the end of the day, when there's a stoner will, there is a stoner way. But god damn it, it is Texas, and they are so goddamn fucking extreme about it. They're going to be like one of the last few states to fully recreationally legalize that shit, bro. They're not going to be the last state, but they're going to be one of the few because they technically got it medically legalized, even though it's shit. So, I mean, it's like, ugh. Now, I bet even when they do recreationally legalize it, it's going to be trash. Texas will never fucking get it, dude. And honestly, like when it comes to the last states to probably full on legalize it, and medically too, because I'm pretty sure like in Florida it's still even medically illegal. Idaho, I know for a fact is on both ends. I think Arkansas. There's like a few, fuck. Hold on. I actually want to fact check this just by looking at the weed map here. I could do it with this phone. Hold on. I'll just literally look up legal weed map. Come on, pull up the keyboard. Thank you. Okay. All right. This as of. Wait, hold on. I kind of want to try to expand this. Can I? Okay, there we go. Okay, so South Carolina, Indiana, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Wyoming, and Idaho are completely illegal. Wait, whoa. So in most of this fucking country, at minimal, it's medically legal. What are we doing? Could we just be fucking blunt with that, by the way? I will have a caveat, though. The medical side, there's two different things that are saying here. There's only low THC medical legal, and then legal for medical use only just across the board. Which the low THC is Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, or North Carolina, Kansas, and yeah. So they are very strict on their medical weed. But most of the country is medical, and then between Alaska, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Montana, Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, Virginia, Maryland, DC, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, Massachusetts, and Maine, all recreationally legal. Most of this country has it legal in one way, shape, or form. And half of it, and most of the populous places in this country, too, have it legal, recreationally across the board. The fuck are we doing, dude? The fuck are we doing? And the fact that low THC medical, that's why the medical's trash. That proved my point, by the way. That's why I'm not taking a medical card there. Fuck that shit. The laws are bunk. It's gross. I'd rather never. Well, I don't know if I can really say, but you know what I mean. A homie, a plug, as they would call it. I need a plug. And frankly, I guarantee you, like, most of the time, those motherfuckers are dead ass. Like, straight up. Just getting that shit from the most nearest recreational legal state. They're just, know somebody or somebodies that buy it in bulk. And then they just sell that to their homie that just transports it across state lines via a fucking car or something like that, or a van. And then they distribute it to their buddy who distributes it to their distributors, and so on and so forth, right? Like the black market for weed at this point comes from legal states. It doesn't come from cartels anymore. Why do you think they're like not just expanding on shit like fentanyl and other stuff, but also like even things that aren't related to drugs, like in oil and even water to a certain extent? Like they're expanding into other markets, when it comes to the black market. They're, they know that weed isn't their main moneymaker anymore. In fact, they don't even really care about that anymore. Like they don't give a shit. If anything, they could probably make a buck on the fact that it's legal. I don't know. I mean, I arguably just because, like, if anything, they could probably like lobby their own, like, at least in Mexico or something, they could probably lobby this state to be like, just legalize it, homie. Hermano, or at least in this case, hermana, legalize it, hey. Because we already have other means to make a lot of money in the black market. Just do it. Because then we can at least have legitimate businesses. Even if we're also doing illegitimate shit. So I don't know. I mean, just having it legal across the board is just the way to go, man. And I do find it silly that like some people really do think that like Trump is gonna at least like decriminalize or something. It's like, dude, if anyone's known anything about him lately, he's like going the opposite direction. I can maybe make that argument if it was his first term, and arguably maybe consecutive second if, you know, I don't know, we just didn't let Biden run because of how much of a fuck. I don't even want to get into that, but you know, I mean, he probably wouldn't be nearly as bad on his policy, but now he's just like, you know, getting the yes men in his ear, especially so these days, you know, when it comes to these fucking anti-drug prudish fucks. So he went from like, let the states handle it, folks, to, I don't know, maybe I'll schedule it back to, Schedule 1. So, I don't know. Just another reason why, at least in my mind, Dems fucked up. Instead of just descheduling shit, why don't you just, like, legalize it on a federal level, you pussy-ass bitches? Even if it's just medically. Shit, if there's, like, a medical, like, federal, like, legalization of marijuana across the board in every state, like, based on, like, the most, like, liberal law, I guess, when it comes to, like, a medical legalized, like, state, like, California, Washington, or something like that, but, like, even if it's based off of those foundations or something, like, just make that a foundation on a federal level. And then, if people want to recreationally legalize it, from there, from the states, then they can. But now all these anti-weed states that don't even have it medically legal don't have shit to say. Supremacy Clause, bitch. Or Supremacy Clause. Really? Claw. Actually, that sounds more sinister, the Supremacy Clause. Because we definitely need one of those, honestly. Maybe not right now, but we definitely need to kind of remember that is a thing. Just not right now. Don't give this administration any ideas. Not that they already got plenty of ideas as it is. But maybe the Democratic Party has some balls. Imagine weren't like a little pussy-fitted, like, scratch a liberal fascist bleeds like a little coward. Then, I don't know. Maybe they could remind themselves of that. But even I don't want them to be reminded of it either, because I don't trust them with that power. I'm kind of glad the Supremacy Clause has been kind of forgotten in this country for right now. Exactly, yeah. You know what I fucking detest and hate immensely that has been forgotten in this country, and I know more next, you probably know? The fairness doctrine. Because the fact that, like, that is not in like a doctrine that is enforced, via the media and the news in this country anymore is a detriment to journalism, a detriment to news, a detriment to facts, a detriment to objective reporting. Is a detriment to all of it. That's in one way, in a major fucking way. The reason why we're in this situation when it comes to like fake news, when it comes to like this post-truth crazy conspiratorial nonsense, when it comes to all these influence bullshit, whatever the fuck, it's like, including the Charlie Kirks, the Ben Shapiro's, to all of them. That's a part of the problem. It's because the fairness doctrine isn't a thing that isn't forced anymore. And frankly, it needs to be modernized. Like, because it only really attained towards like media and news when it came to like print outlets and like TV. But now it needs to pertain towards like social media and online on top of just those factors as well. Because in some part, that's also how Fox News came to the way it was. It's because of, the fact that the fair doctrine isn't a thing anymore. Because that's where, there was a major comp launch for them to be able to peddle a certain narrative, especially a conservative one, to the audience and to their populace. And exceptionally so, to the point where they're nothing more than just a propaganda outlet. Just like the rest of the fucking mainstream media outlets, but exceptionally so, with Fox News. And that's not even a fucking question. MSNBC and CNN, like, they're propaganda outlets in their own right too, but not like Fox. I can at least, say that, if MSNBC and CNN, at least there are sometimes they will do like some actual reporting, but not often. Because they also got a fucking little spin that they're always trying to do too. Because again, the fairness doctrine is not a thing that's enforced, and they got no reason to do actual credible journalism. In fact, there's been plenty of times where these fucking outlets have been caught like doing fraudulent journalism too. Remember that one time? I think it was like not with Katrina, but it was like, I think of like Hurricane Sandy or some shit. I forgot exactly which hurricane it was because there's been so fucking many of them. But like, I remember one way back in the day, probably maybe like back in 2015, so like a decade ago now, probably at this point, where there was like, some footage of Anderson Cooper, Anderson Booper, like literally, in ankle high water, but he was on his knees to make it look like, the flood was way more severe than it was, in the area that he happened to be reporting in. Because obviously the floods were severe and, damage was pretty bad. But in a way to do more sensationalistic journalism, he literally was like on his knees, like so it made it look like he was like a knee high or a little higher in the water, just like shuffling in the water, being like, "So it's so deep," and blah, 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 just like kind of doing his bullshit. And then like it kept recording a little longer as he got up, and he just stood up like he was just on his knees, and he got up, and it's like, wow, really, dude? Like you could have said that it's really bad, but not sensationalize it and make it look like like half the city's drowning, even though I guess it is, but not in the way like what? It's like you can't be honest about it. Trust in mass media news is all time low, big time. Good. And honestly, even when it comes to independent media, they shouldn't be trusted either, because independent media, like, is also in part like bought and owned by like, or at least in their own right, are like a part of the mainstream as well too. Like like when it comes to Turning Point or the Daily Wire and shit like that, like they're technically independent media, but they're part of the mainstream. Or even something like Jubilee and shit, they're technically not like media or whatever, but they're a part of the political zeitgeist. But I mean, especially these days, well, yeah, they're just bullshit and they're just, sensationalizing shit just like everyone else is. I mean, I'm sure you especially know, because after that Mehdi Hassan versus 20 conservatives, which like 18 out of 20 of them were pretty much fucking Nazis for all intents and purposes. I haven't even seen the one of Andrew Callahan yet, where it's like Andrew Callahan versus 20 conspiracy theorists. I'm just like, wow, you're really making your image look better, Jubilee. And what's wild is that, like, I actually used to like their content a lot, even when it came to some of that. But, because maybe when they first started, there was some genuine interest of actually trying to, like, do the whole both sides get them together and see if there's at least some agreement in this and that. Even when they did clash a lot, and they would just let them clash. And now it's all curated. They would edit it in a lot of ways. Even Mehdi Hassan said, like, there's a lot of times where, like, the full conversation of the actual, like, event was way longer, and there was a lot more things that were said that, one, in a way, he's glad it wasn't presented, but also at the same time, it's like, I wish some other things were, because, like, this is not appropriate to what actually was the broader, discussion / narrative at hand here. Like, this is bullshit. And plenty of other people have also called this shit out, when it came to Jubilee, even before Mehdi. Mehdi is just probably the biggest person to mention this and thus really bring it to the fucking light. But, this has been a problem for Jubilee for a while now, to be honest. And it's just so fucked up. I mean, I don't blame them, I guess, but like, I mean, because they're the equivalent, a more liberal version of like, internet blood sports. That's basically is what the fuck they are now at this point. If anyone knows what blood sports are, then congratulations, and if not, then good. Because there was an era in the internet where it was just brutal when it came to like debates and this and that. And Jubilee, I think, really in a weird fucked ways like harness that. And now they're like the new version of it, but they just like to liberalize it to make it seem more presentable. It's just both sides, hashing it out. Or just one person versus like 20 of them. And honestly, whatever happened to their like, 10 conservatives versus 10 like, leftists or whatever, like those ones? What happened to those? Like, they don't even do those anymore, really. At least they sure shit don't gain any traction if they do. Do they even anymore? I thought they do. Let's literally just look at their videos on here. Six white people versus one secret black person, odd one out. Oh my god. I know my friend Logan is going to love that. One journalist versus two conspiracy theorists. Andrew Callahan. They call him a journalist? I don't know about that. I mean, I want to call him a journalist, but I mean, I would call him like a reporter on the broader, like, zeitgeist of the era, in a sense of like, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe on a technicality he is, but I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call him that. Parents and teachers confront what kids really need. Wait, what's this one called? Spectrum. Oh, that one. Left and Right, Epstein and Charlie Kirk and Gaza Roundtable. Oh, so they still do them sometimes. Ex-cult members unmasculized, secrets revealed. Interesting. Okay, that actually does seem kind of interesting. Is being poor a choice? Unhoused versus millionaires, middle ground. Oh, so they still do the middle ground shit. Unhoused versus millionaires? Is being poor a choice? That's actually a little fucked up. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. That's a little fucked up because, like, you obviously know the millionaires are going to say, yeah, it's a choice. And the people who are unhoused obviously aren't going to say that unless you have the outlier. It's like, yeah, I chose to because I prefer the liberation and the freedom. And I like, now I've converted my van as my home and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Unless you got like, one of those motherfuckers, like, no one's going to say that it is a choice for them. I like, I, I just wow. And you know what? Honestly, we should check it out one of these days. Oh my god. You know what? I'm thinking I'm thinking because I got the Beat of Ramblings tomorrow. I got an idea. Maybe I can skim through it. Maybe I can find a prompt because they usually timestamp the prompts. So I could find maybe a specific prompt and be like, oh, this is a hot one. And then like from there, like maybe see if Beer Rams be like, I got a timestamp for you. Let's check this clip out. Because honestly, dude, I am so tempted to. You know what? Do we dare just say fuck it right now? Do we just go radio status every now and then? And not show you something? Do we dare right now? You know what? Low key, I'm kind of saying fuck it. We're gonna do it from the phone. I don't even give a fuck. You all can deal with it.
To give help to these encampments, and the more we treat them as criminal and try to clear them away, the worse it's gonna be for people. When we have tourists coming in.
Who in the fuck are you? Why is this so goddamn quiet? Who is this wannabe Michael Jackson ass? Like, oh,
I think we need to give help to these encampments, and the more we treat them as criminal and try to.
Oh wait, no, never mind.
It's gonna be for people.
He did sound like a little bit of like a Michael Jackson. Why is this so quiet though? Wait, what was she say? Hold on. Okay, hold up. I got an idea here. You know what? We'll do this really quick. Boop.
Bluetooth is connecting.
Yep, because it's going to be pairing, and we're going to do this because this will actually help a little bit, I think. Because this is really fucking quiet.
Bluetooth connected.
There we go. Wait, hold on. I want to make sure it's not blasting out loud. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
When we have tourists coming in, it's so embarrassing because I have a lot of people come to LA and they're like, oh, let's go see the Hollywood Boulevard. And you see people pooping on the streets, tents, and they're like, this is a third world country.
I could tell this is going to be great. Let's just find a prompt. I'm not gonna like go from the beginning. So the first one literally is just the title of the video is being poor choice. Capitalism creates homelessness. Homelessness encampments can be dangerous and should be cleared. The system is rigged to keep the rich rich and the poor poor. Wealthy people have a duty to fix homelessness. If you give people free housing, they won't be motivated to change their lives. So these are the prompts. Which one do you think is going to be the spiciest one? Because I got my opinions. So which one do you think is going to be the spiciest? I'll read them again. So the first one is being poor is a choice. Capitalism creates homelessness. Homeless encampments can be dangerous and should be cleared. The system is rigged to keep the rich rich and the poor poor. Wealthy people have a duty to fix homelessness. And if you give people free housing, they won't be motivated to change their lives. So, which one do you think is going to be the spiciest out of all of these? I feel like the first one is already going to be like the spicy one, but I feel like the homeless encampment one is also going to be. And you know what? I got some takes about this one too. So I'm kind of leaning on that one myself because I'm not going to lie. Like, are there some encampments, especially from what I've seen, that are like, whoa, and definitely kind of sketch as fuck? Oh, yeah. But, I mean, are there plenty of encampments that I've seen that are totally fine and are, in a way, actually relatively clean and, they're at least trying to keep up and at least have some basic, cleanly presentation, even despite their circumstances? Oh, absolutely. In fact, a lot of times. So, this one I think is a 50-50 because I've seen both. And I've even seen kind of a gray area where, like there will be a encampment that's chill for a while, but then I'll see another tent and then suddenly gets a little sketch because one person decides to like join the encampment and people think they're fine and then they're not. So I've seen shit like that before. I've seen different things, man. So I don't know. I mean, Portland unfortunately has got, a lot of those problems. So I kind of have like a perspective around that, and I can kind of understand multiple factors around that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Which is having the duty to help others. Do you think, honestly, I kind of agree with you a little bit. You know, well, not just with that statement for sure, but wealthy people have a duty to fix homelessness. Should we check that? Should we listen to this for a little bit? I bet there's going to be some spicy stuff here a little bit from the rich people.
Wealthy people have a duty to fix homelessness.
Okay, this is middle ground, so there might be a millionaire or two. You know, actually, I'm kind of curious. Okay, so this is a millionaire crowd. Those two are walking up. So two of the millionaires are actually walking up and saying, "Yeah, you know, there is a." Whoa, actually, I'm not. I'm a little shocked and not gonna lie, kind of based for those two to kind of walk up like that. Wait, what? There's like, the other person's behind him who's got like a fucking strut. Hold up, hold up.
Where y'all at right now, and no one on y'all
Oh,
side
god damn
wants
it.
to be where we're at right now, and that's just the reality.
Wealthy people
Okay,
have
here.
a duty to fix homelessness.
So those two walk up, him and no, but the other two don't. But look at him just strutting, dude. He got a strut. He was like, "Oh hell yeah, they definitely do. Let's go." Like, I got some takes on this one, brother. Yes, you know, he knows he's got some takes.
I think the more money you make, the more responsibility you bear, right? The more
Okay, so that guy is Renee. He's one of the rich guys, and you know what? Yeah, okay. The more money you make, the more responsibility you have to bear. Actually, yeah, very much agreeable. Because you have more wealth and more, thus, capital broadly to influence the broader society and the system. And especially if you want to see it go in a positive direction, especially when it comes to a positive opportunity and direction, when it comes to homelessness and when it comes to the plight of, poor people when they're the most marginalized when it comes to the economic system, and you recognize that and are at least trying to do your part. Hey, you know what? You know, obviously, that ain't gonna solve it all, but at least you're putting kind of a tiny dent as a millionaire. And you know what? I'd spare you when it comes to, like, having my, like, fuck the millionaires and billionaires. Blah, blah, blah." Yeah, like, at least in this case, I'm like, you know what? At least you were chill. At least you actually kind of respected us and try to care and understand us a little bit and help us out. At least I can grant that. You still want your monies and being a rich boy, but you know what? I kind of respect you a little bit for at least helping us out. So I get that. And you know what? I'm sure part of that is because maybe there was a time in his life where he probably had to struggle a little bit. I mean, unfortunately, it's not like every time, where like a rich person, stays humble when it comes to their humble beginnings. But like, for the ones that still recognize that and uphold towards that, yeah, I can respect it. Rich is just a policy failure. Star Trek. I guess one thing instead of working for material welfare status, showing collective work for the betterment of mankind, using treatment status instead. Well, sure, yeah. I just wait. Oh, fuck. Okay, there. I just rewatched the first Contact, and Picard says speech to the lady in the past since me. Mankind needs to improve beyond material wealth, embrace social wealth, and working for the betterment of others. Well, 100%. I think arguably that's kind of what, in a lot of ways, what, like, leftism is ultimately trying to achieve. And, we got a long way to go, unfortunately, but, I will say if there's at least, like some people who are of the upper class up to a point of even being a millionaire, but at least, recognize or able to, understand and practice that and put it to practice, the sense of like, yeah, I hold more responsibility because of my wealth and are willing to at least, act on that, then I can at least appreciate that. It's like, hey, you know what? Like, you're not just hoarding it for the sake of hoarding it. You just make so much, but you don't know what to do with it all. So you want to invest into something better because you want at least, the betterment for other people. You have a humility, you have a humanity to you. You're not just like some gobble up all the money parasite, kind of motherfucker. I can at least, respect that, even if fundamentally I don't agree with the broader like philosophy of capitalism and how it works as a system and shit. If there's at least some people in it that, can recognize their place in it but still give back, then I can I can't really like fuck on them too hard, if they're like paying their taxes, paying their dues, giving the workers their fair treatment, investing in the right things, their philanthropy is investing into like, the betterment of society, the expansion of social wealth, not, even if it's not just for their own sake, but for the sake of others. And at least they're using it in the right way. I mean, they are kind of a traitor of the class, I suppose, at least when it comes to the broader philosophical politic, when it comes to capitalism, when it comes to being a millionaire or billionaire, especially a multimillionaire. But, because it does say millionaires. I mean, it doesn't necessarily specify if they're multimillionaires or, 100 millionaires, but it just says millionaires with this. So, I mean, maybe they're like the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to being a millionaire, because maybe they only have like at maximum maybe like 900 million or something like that, because it doesn't really specify. I'm sure they mentioned that throughout this, but like I said, we're just looking for one prompt, because I'm not going to go for this whole fucking thing. Can get your cash trader like FDR comes come from them and embrace comment. Well, yeah. I feel like the ones that are like that just aren't interested in politics, and even though they, in a weird way, maybe they probably should. At least for some of them. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them should, like FDR did. Though to be fair, he already had like kind of a family history of being in politics with Teddy and a few other family members too. Funny enough, I actually knew one of his distant relatives as well. I think he was like a cousin to like, if I remember, the Roosevelt that I knew, who happened to be a teacher eventually, that's how I knew him, was through like a cousin who was like the direct relative to FDR, basically. So like he was the son of a cousin who was they themselves were like a descendant of like an aunt who was like one of the common relatives of like FDR himself, something like that. I forgot the exact lineage, but it was something like that. Again, I forgot the exact shit, but he was able to prove for a fact that he was like related to the Roosevelt family, because he held the name. It was Mr. Roosevelt. So I mean, and a young guy too. So, and weirdly enough, he kind of had a weird mix of like legit looking kind of like Teddy, but with like some like blonde Kennedy hair, if that makes sense. Like he looked like a weird mix of like Teddy Roosevelt but Kennedy, like John F. Kennedy. Like, I'm not even joking. I don't know, but he had like a suave to him a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck? I could see the FDR in you and a little bit of the Teddy in you, especially, but like, you got some Kennedy in you too. What the fuck? Are you sure? Like, somewhere down the line, the Kennedys and the Roosevelts like didn't fuck and you became a thing eventually or something? Like, what the fuck? As he legit looks a little like a mix of both. Does Uncle Teddy told him that his child feels president, he prayed to FDR never become president because of sheer stress. Ironically, that's how he got yeeted. That's not really how FDR. I mean, dude, he had a lot of health problems, dude. Like, it was his health that got him. I mean, it wasn't the stress of being president, dude. Because if that was the case, he would have died by the time by the first like couple years of the war. Like, I mean, it wasn't stress that got him. It wasn't sheer stress. It was just his health. I mean, his health just wasn't great. Surely wasn't good for his health. Well, dude, being president is not good for your health. Like, no shit. No matter what, that's going to play a role. But, I mean, if we're gonna really look at the brass tacks of it all, that didn't have anything to do with it. But anyway, I kind of want to see if there's like some
The
hot
more
take shit here
responsibility you
though.
have, the more you want to help other people, bring them up, educate them, help monetarily.
We barely listen to this
whether,
anyway.
Whether you fix it through money, or whether you fix it through education, whether you fix it through reform, there's a lot of things you can do once you start making money, because you can start making impact. Especially hearing your guys' stories, it makes me feel bad, because I feel like I could do more. I can't, obviously, but I think the wealthier you get, the more responsibility you have for that stuff.
I noticed that I can't, obviously. It's like, yeah, you can. What, you don't think just like local nonprofits? Like, I don't know where the guy lives, but it's like, dude, you don't think in your town or your city that there's going to be like nonprofit organizations that are local there that you can just donate a fuckload of money to? They'll probably make a goddamn plaque in your fucking name if you donate enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Like, yeah, you can. I mean, like, well, okay. I was kind of respecting him a little bit up until that point. I'm like, I really hope that these other two call him out a little bit on that one, because I would. I'm like, wait, so you're saying that you generally think there should be more responsibility, more oh, well, I feel bad and I feel like I should be doing more, but I can't, obviously. It's like, huh? Yeah, you can. So now you're trying to obfuscate a little bit. Like, so now you're trying to guilt trip me, like, oh, you're making me feel bad, and I know I should be doing more, but I just can't. It's like, yeah, you can. What, you really think like an eighth of your wealth needs to just be there? You really think you need it? If you're a millionaire, do you really think like 20 thou or 200 thou is like really needing to just sit there? Like, what are you holding on to it for? Split that up to local nonprofit organizations and immensely expand their opportunity to help other people, especially if you supposedly care about so much. Fuck, even donate to the state. If you know the state has like a program, to help homeless people with like little like, mini homes or something like that, like then do that too. I mean, like, you got wealth, you can throw it around. Like, oh, obviously I can't do anything. My ass. Like, give me a break. Especially if they're millionaires, they can do it easily.
I think every person has
And arguably, it could be a tax write-off for them too.
a duty.
Cheaper on taxes at the end of the year for them. Might get even tax, get some money back at the end of the tax season because of it. So, might be a good investment.
To help their fellow human being. And homelessness is an initiative that it's been near and dear to my heart for a long time. It's not just lip service. I mean, I've helped people fundraise through my company.
This is a different guy.
And built 150 homes.
Maximum volume.
Oops.
Mexico. And I've been involved in charitable
Shit, hold
stuff
on.
for the last
Wait, hold on. Let me go back a little bit because it did that bullshit.
And it's not just lip service. I mean, I've helped people fundraise through my company and built 150 homes for people that didn't have homes in Mexico. And I've been involved in charitable stuff for the last 25 years. It's one of the most gratifying things that I do. I think it's actually more of a selfish thing to do, to be honest with you, because it's like it feels amazing doing it. I feel like I'm actually fulfilling my calling.
I mean, I guess a really interesting way to put it, I suppose. I mean, 150 homes, though, seems like a very low number. I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm not even going to complain about that. But, like, I'm going to nitpick it and be like, I mean, dude, you're a millionaire. You can't, like, do another 50 or another few hundred homes. Or, you know what? Fuck it. Like, maybe an apartment complex or two. So now there's, like, another couple hundred for each apartment complex. So now there's, like, 500 to 650 different homes. I mean, just at minimal. I mean, it seems like a little bar. I mean, this guy actually seems like he's literally like, well, not only am I talking to talk, because the other guy's like, well, not really. This guy's like, well, no, here, it's such I feel a little selfish, bragging about it, but like, blah, 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 blah. Like, He's at least like flexing some shit, to be honest. Like, I will grant that. Like, he seems like this guy, at least, like, for at least, well, like you said, for 25 years was, doing some philanthropy to help people. At least, including in places like in Mexico as well. So, you know what? I honestly can respect him more, despite maybe having to nitpick a little bit about it. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to be like super, super critical, at least on this guy. I don't know what his name is, but at least honestly, like, he seems like he's more of a genuine, like, kind of stand-up guy as a millionaire, even if I might disagree with a lot of, broader politics of him, especially when it comes to economics. I mean, it seems like he at least still does care about, the common, especially impoverished, people, not even just in this country, but even including in Mexico, apparently. So I could at least grant that. And it seems like he at least has some sort of a flex towards it, but I don't know anything about him. So obviously, for all I know, he could be saying is bullshit. But if I have to take it from face value, I mean, it seems like he's better than the other guy because he didn't even have anything to brag about. He's like, yeah, I feel bad and I want to do that, but I don't really have the power to do this. He just kind of like fucked it off despite acknowledging it. This guy at least is like, yeah, I actually have done this and that. Even if there might be some ulterior motives in this, shit, but, I'm sure, like, he's probably, like, saying some bullshit here and there, but, like, overall, it seems like he is a little, open to at least using his philanthropy in a way that's at least good. I can grant that. At least it's spreading your wealth around a little, even if you are a rich fuck. If I had the power, I want to retool the end to what actually claims to be star of no more Security Council. We aren't giving 5 nations an arbitrary override. Well, Security Council should actually be like a broader national or international democratic vote of like the nations, like of all nations, that are in the UN. And yeah, there will be like the top 10, that are there, but all of them have like a role and a play, and a power to play when it comes to that council. With the goal eventually unite Earth, that would be at the end. Well, yeah, it's you're thinking way too far ahead. Like, I'm thinking some short-term shit, dog, because when it comes to the UN right now, I don't want to get into it too far right now at this moment, but like, I got a whole idea about how they should be doing right now and how that should operate, including when it comes to the Security Council. But I'm not, we can save that for a sec. Well, we hear a little bit more of this, and we'll eventually, we can move on to this topic, though. I'll put a pin on it. People like the both of us. Yeah. Well, that's why they don't put us in power now, do they?
And I think anybody has a duty to help their fellow human. It's just part of being a decent person.
I feel really glad hearing y'all's perspectives on like individually feeling kind of like compassion to put yourself in others' shoes. And a lot of the times just everyday life is just so stressful when you're, poor. It's like you can't think about the greater good for society. It's every day is just survival. I stepped forward because I was thinking kind of like in terms of taxing the rich a little bit. Taxes, go to public services like libraries and roads, and I feel like those things are important more on a systemic level. And then you guys made a good point about like,
actually, I hate to pause it so much, but like that point with the libraries, like, I don't know if people realize it, as much, but when it comes to being poor, especially if we don't necessarily have like computer or internet access, libraries, especially like public libraries, are so fucking important, especially when you have the little computer lab, because like, it's free to get a library card and get like a little account, with the public library system and shit. That's free. There's no charge with it. So when you can, have that card, so you can, use their computer, so you can also like print out things like resumes, go online, for job stuff. Like, there's a lot of fucking things that where public libraries are amazing, not just for the fact that they're libraries, but they're basically like a communal internet hub. You know, especially for people that are poor and can't, even if they can't afford internet, or like the only internet is like for their phone, basically, you know, at least, you know, for whatever reason, you know, even if, you know, whether it's they can't afford it or they just don't have access or whatever, like libraries is the perfect source, you know, for that type of shit. I kind of like and notice how she mentioned that there for a minute, because like, yeah, expanding investment into public libraries and expanding them further just on the virtue for the computer lab factor of it all, to be honest, like, is nothing but a benefit. I mean, just on the virtue of them being libraries, but just on that especially. Yeah, turn back on, bitch.
About like how you individually feel, that's not even something that I had thought about with the comp. So I was glad hearing like y'all's takes on that.
Me too. It was, and I think just this discussion is part of helping. You know what I mean?
Oh shit, this other guy walked up.
I think the rich have a duty to help the unhoused, and there's just this one thing. I always thought it was weird. I'm not saying that when I was unhoused, people were needed to give me money, but I would panhandle a lot. You know what I mean? And whenever I was in like really wealthy areas like Calabasas, I wouldn't get any money from anybody. But if I went to like a lower income neighborhood, like if I went to East LA, I'd get a lot of money. And it just made me like wonder like why the upper class is more hesitant to directly help the unhoused. And I'm thinking maybe because they don't want us like staying in their neighborhoods and
I
stuff.
think it's because they can't relate.
Yeah.
The reason
They can't relate. It was kind of murmured there, and you know, but yeah, that's really ultimately it. I mean, if you really want to just break it down, that's it. No rich motherfucker, you know, with a silver spoon in his mouth is going to relate to a person struggling on the fucking street, or struggling with housing. You know, like, they ain't going to relate to that. Yeah, honestly, if you really just want to ultimately break it down when it comes to that dynamic, you know, like, because that is true even here in Portland. Like, yeah, like, I mean, it's because they just simply can't relate. And honestly, people in poor communities can. And if they feel like they can afford to throw a buck or two or like some change in their pocket, you know, to somebody, you know, while they're panhandling or busking or whatever, you know, because they're just trying to get a little side cheddar, you know, so they can get some food for that fucking night or whatever, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, why not? You know, like, because more often than not, especially these days, that person who's you know, giving a little change or a buck or two to that person has been in that same fucking position at one point, or at least got close to it when they're couch surfing with their friends or something. You know, it's like, yeah, I can afford to lose a buck or two to give them to another person in hopes that, you know, maybe help themselves out a little more. I guess we're gonna just go real quick. Ironic, I've been reading the Halo books, and before the Halo Wars, you know, and had to deal with fascism too and communism at the same time, and somehow be both.
Yeah.
the reason this is I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I thought about it beforehand. I actually got everyone freaking little things so you guys could stay at a hotel for however long. So all you guys got one. There's $250 on this.
Wow.
For any hotel you want.
Oh, that's that Renee guy being like, oh, well, I can't do anything. And then he's out here doing so. Okay, you know what? God damn it. This motherfucker's playing with my feelings. Dude, really? Wow. That's actually, you know what? That's actually kind of cool. You know, I'm not even going to lie. That actually is kind of legit.
Thank you.
Dude, oh my God, the rest of them, dude, the rest of the unhoused people that are like, you know, that didn't walk up yet, they literally are just like, wait, what? Because like, oh, I'm getting one too. I know that. Like, I want to come up.
I love this pump, so I don't know if I'm allowed to do this. If I'm breaking the rules for you.
Thank you.
Dude, that's actually cool, dude.
Thank you, sir. But I think
I love that. Thank you, sir. And he's like, whoop, it's mine. Just okay, that is awesome. That is actually pretty fucking cool, dude.
I remember there was at some point my dad, there was an ugly little like divorce battle where he try to sell the house, and me and my mom were almost homeless.
That's
so it's
actually pretty
when
cool.
I hear this stuff, it makes me sad.
Dawson Tech Cruz is your weasel. Of course he
And I
is.
feel like really grateful to have money now. So I wanted to make sure that you guys.
He's more of a skunk.
I really
I can't do like it's not much, but also just on the top of goosebumps. It's crazy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys, everybody deserves it.
Oh, she actually getting emotional about it. Man, god damn it. Man, and this show's like, I don't know about this guy. Because the other guy was kind of flexing on you a little bit. And then he outflexed. Dude, is it like millionaire flex hour with this shit? Like, what the fuck? I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like these millionaires are trying to flex on each other now. Because the other dude was like, oh, I'm being humble with myself, but also feeling bad and trying to kind of guilt trip. But now this guy's extra flexing. Fuck, I need to flex. Like, I had this on standby just in case. Because I know one of these millionaire fucks were going to flex. Like, dude, I swear to God, bro. Oh my God, dude. I swear, if it literally is just some weird Machiavellian ulterior motive, I'm like, bro.
Say, since you have that heart and that mind to do that, I would say get involved with organizations that are in Skid Row, that are right now fighting this battle.
That's what I've been saying. Like, okay, at least someone was saying it to him.
Have people to make sure that Gavin Newsom can hear our stories. We don't have people to make sure that Karen Bass.
What? What? Did I just hear what I thought? What? No. Okay, I need to play this back. And did I mishear it? Because I heard Gavin Newsom. But I swear to God, did I mishear him, like, supporting this guy? Because this guy is, like, overtly, like, almost like as a human rights violation, criminally cracking down on homeless people and shit. Like, he's conservative as fuck when it comes to, like, I swear to God, if this on the house dude is actually, like, support, I swear to God, if I'm hearing this right.
Have that heart and that mind to do that, I would say get involved with organizations that are in Skid Row.
Yeah.
That are right now fighting this battle. We don't have people to make sure that Gavin Newsom can hear our stories. We don't have people to make sure that Karen Bass can hear our story.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's saying that Gavin Newsom is okay. So all right, I misheard it. All right.
Being millionaires, I'll be honest, y'all can get to these leaders quicker and better than we can. I've been down to City Hall and tried to talk to them. They quick to throw us out of there. Let you guys go down there, petition, talk to them, ask.
Okay. Now I see what he's saying. Yeah, and yes, yeah. Honestly, if you know what, I will say this, man. If there are like some of the class traders when it comes to some of these rich types who are a little like genuinely kind of humble and sympathetic to like the plight of people who are poor and marginalized, and you know what? Yeah, encourage them to genuinely like use their voice and wealth to get an ear on these people, whether it is Gavin Newsom or Tina Kotek. You know what? Fuck it, even Trump, to be honest. If honestly, like, if someone like, I don't even, let's just say some random ass motherfucker, Danny DeVito, fuck it, if he was like, you know what, I'm gonna put like $1 million, to Trump just so I could talk to him, so I could say some like union, like, hey, there's these people that generally feel like you're going a little too much and this and that, and like talks him down to be a little bit more like liberal and shit. You know what? Fuck it, bro. You know what I mean? Like, we kind of need that a little bit. I mean, because it would help like backtrack some of the shit that's going on. Like I kind of feel like that would be not a bad idea. Like especially at least on the local level and on a state level, especially, and even maybe on a somewhat national level, if you can get like some Congress people to maybe listen, to some, like influential, people, like especially when it comes to their wealth, even if it means they have to put some of that wealth. Even if that means they have to put some of their wealth into them, it's like fuck. If it just means that they get an ear and might, be sweet talked enough into, change their position at least for a moment. Fuck it.
But they listen to us. That's just my perspective on it.
Now about what the rest of these people, what they got to say. Oh my God! Wow, Nad, really? You can fuck off. Wow. Why am I not surprised that happened? And why am I not surprised Jubilee literally like fucking strategically placed it there?
Maximum volume.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say from my personal experience, every successful like entrepreneur or person that's
Oh
made a lot of
god,
money,
here's a rich fuck. Oh god, ew.
always giving back. They're actually some of the more giving people in my experience. I guess
So why didn't you step up, bitch? Why do you disagree with the prompt? Why do you disagree with the prompt then, bitch? Why did you only walk up now and you want to say your weird weaselly shit, you motherfucker?
with a prompt, just the word duty as if they were obligated. It's like I don't think it should be written anywhere, but I think it's
Kind of. I don't fuck you. Yeah, I kind of should a little bit. I mean, like the other dude initially, Renee or whatever his fucking name was. Like dead ass. Like the more wealth you have, the more responsibility you have with your wealth, and that includes to give back. To the society. Like, I mean, it, the fact that that same dude literally gave out like some you know, like some free little cards to be like, hey, this is a way to get like, hotel somewhere for however long. I mean, I don't know exactly how much money is in there, so you can get it for like, a couple days or a week or who knows, like, but there's a lot of money on it. That's how much I know. But here you go. Boom. I think he said it was like 20 to $50 each or some shit like that, which honestly for like a decent little cheap hotel for like a night or two, well, for $20 he probably couldn't, but I mean, he did say that it was probably more than that, so I think he probably forgot because he probably bought them well ahead of time and then just forgot because like something like a 50 even to $100 for like gift cards are probably like nothing to him, so he probably did just legit forget. So I wouldn't be too surprised. His human manifestation of blobfish. Funny enough, this guy literally looks like a weird ass gym bro, like who's also like heavily like on some weird meth addled drug. Hold on.
natural philosophy that if you've ever struggled and understand what that's like, that when you make it, it's like
That's what it looks like. He's not a blobfish, but he's something.
you not feel good about helping someone else out because you've once been in their shoes. So, I mean, I agree with everything everyone's saying. I guess the word duty maybe threw me off.
I think if you make it a responsibility, you're gonna cheapen it. Like if y'all were responsible for giving me a hotel every night, he would have pulled that out. I'd be like, bro, I'm down with that. I don't know. You should have gave me twice as much, 3 times as much, because now you're obligated. Why stood in a line?
Oh, I meant Ted Cruz. Oh well, yeah, he's a human manifestation of blobfish. Well, that's true.
For 2 hours almost to get this T-shirt because I was like, I need something to match these shoes, and I saw people in the line complaining. Somebody said, "Oh, they're not. They're not. They don't care about what they're doing." I'm like, bro, they're volunteering. If people are responsible for doing stuff for other people, then it's gonna turn more of like, why didn't you do that for me? Instead of why didn't I get off my ass and get it? We all also do have our own families, and I plan on being filthy rich. I mean, absurdly, disgustingly rich. And
Bro, you're on the side of the unhoused. Like that's not happening for you, my friend. I wish that was the case. But like, dog, I mean, unless so many different things were to change, that's not happening. Dude, like, I mean, you don't think I had those same ideas? I know, my friend Logan sure shit did and does still. I mean, but like, like, come on, dude. I'm sorry, but like, we're in a paradigm right now where that just isn't the case. For if unless you are under a certain bracket of wealth, like that, you're just kind of shit out of luck. At least for now. I don't think that's going to be permanent. I do believe that, but it's going to be a while though.
don't want all of a sudden now now it's on me to take care of everybody else's because I have a lot of children. I got to take care of my own thing.
I was gonna say,
You got a lot of kids? How many, dude? Oh no, I hate to be the guy to critique, now, but like I don't know, man. He's one of these like, poor folks, actually if anything I'll probably like, be chill with like, watching rest that, but like he's one of those like poor folks where I'm like, especially on the extreme level, where I'm like, dude, you might need to humble yourself like bad, bro. Like seriously, because dude, like this idea, like especially in that situation where it's like you got kids and supposedly a lot of them, and then like all these other factors, it's like you are not getting rich or filthy rich like you wanted to say, especially if you have a lot of kids and you're trying to invest in yourself. And it's like, dude, you're exceptionally fucked. Like the idea of maybe having a lot of kids later, once you're rich, would have been one thing. But now you're just fucked. Like, I mean, his bubble has not burst quite yet. I mean, unfortunately. The other two seem like they're a lot more humble about it, but I'm going to have to watch more about that for sure, because, whoa, that is a very interesting video for sure. I'm actually kind of surprised, people like Hassan or something like that haven't done like little reacts to it yet or anything. Or it's like, maybe it's just, or anything really. Like, because I haven't noticed that, like, little side videos for like side content, unless it's like major news or some other shit, like, it hasn't really been as major thing lately for content, for other streamers. Unless like D5, they're like the only ones that are pretty much like the ones that do side shit mostly instead of news. So, interesting, I will say. Because I think, a little react to something like that would be a little interesting, I will say. Because I don't think I can handle it just by myself. I will admit that. I would need some extra sources and technology and tools in my disposable in my disposal for something like that.
Bluetooth is connecting.
Yeah, fuck you.
Power off.
Then boop. And then do this, and I think
Power on. Bluetooth. Bluetooth connected.
yeah.
Minimum volume.
There we go. Oh, my little playlist for the tube is gone. No. Makes me sad. Makes me so sad. That should be going on pretty nice fat minute. So, yeah, whatever. I'm actually thinking, what should I whip up for some dank? Because I've been making like mac and cheese for dinner like a lot lately, and I'm like, fuck, I kind of want something a little different, but there's like, oh, wait. Do I have an idea? Ooh. Would it be a lot of meat in there? But I can make like some spaghetti. Take a little longer though, but fuck. I just realized this. I should have gotten like a cheapo ass like pizza, like a Tostino's or some shit. Motherfuck. Boo. Now I'm limited. But we got like way too much mac and cheese, so I think I might just have to say fuck it and have a little more. If anything, catch up on some more DS9. So let's call it good for now. Peace out and see y'all next one. So toodaloo.